Hi everyone, my name is Paharia and in this complete one-shot video, we will talk about Codex. So whether you have used Codex before or you are completely new to Codex, this video will help you out. Because we are going to start everything from scratch to building our own full stack application using Codex. So with that note, let's get started. So what is Codex? See, we already know that when ChatGPT was launched in 2022, people used it so aggressively. Not because it was something new, but because it gives them in-person feel. They actually feel like that there's someone who is chatting with them and solving their queries based on their questions. And whatever the response it generates, they just copy and paste it wherever they want to use. And even most of the people consume AI for the very first time because of ChatGPT, although AI was available way back, but they were not aware about it. And for this type of AI workflow, we got the term in AI which is known as generative AI. But now in 2026, things has changed. AI has evolved a lot. This time, it's not only about generating the response, but also letting the AI to do the task on the behalf of you and also parallelly with you. And for these type of capabilities in AI, we call them as AI agents. And Codex is one of the AI agent which is built by OpenAI. And there are some other AI agents also available, like we have Claude Code from Anthropic, and we have Replit, Bolt New, and others. And all the main purpose of this AI agents to do the task, whatever the instructions you have given to it. Now, just like we humans, when we do any task, how we actually perform that task? We first do planning in our mind, that we gather all the resources that are required to take action for that task. And once we done all the planning, we start executing it with the help of actions. Same like that, these agents work. So these agents works on these three principles. First one is reasoning, where it does the planning and thinking based on the task you have given. Then it will do act. Now when it comes to act, it actually acts with the help of tools. But now what is tools? See, tools are some external set of programs or instructions which help AI agents to get the resources outside of your environment. Now what does that mean? Suppose you are using Codex inside your project, and inside that project you want your Codex to get access to the API which is a part of internet. So to get access to that API, how will it get access? It will get access with the help of tools. And now it's not only limited to the API, although if you want to access to any file from your project and want to edit any code inside that, all those things will be done with the help of tools. In short, tools give the capabilities to AI agents to get access to that particular thing which is required for the task. So it will act based on the tools. And now the next thing is access memory. So just like we human store the things in our mind so that later on if we want to do the same task again, we do not start everything from scratch. Instead, we will get it from our memory and then execute it. Same like that, the AI agents also have short-term and long-term memory based on the task we have given. And later on, if the same task you want to do it again, it will do it from its memory instead of starting everything from scratch. And this reasoning and act, we together call them as react, which basically means planning and then taking actions. Now if I want to show you the entire workflow of AI agents with the help of an example, so suppose a user asks a question which says, what's the weather in my city? Now when user asks these type of questions, the first thing AI agents will do, it will do the planning. It will first see users didn't specify the city. All the plannings it will do. It will see that my city, determine users locations, need weather informations, and then plan. What is the plan now here? Find locations, fetch weather, and summarize the result. So these are the planning or the thinking your AI agents will do. And once this is complete, it will start taking an action. Now the first thing is that it needs a location of your city. Otherwise, how will it get to know the weather of it? So it will take the help of tool, as we discussed before. That act basically takes the help of tools through which it will get access to the external resources. So here also, it will take the help of location tool and it will observe that location is XYZ or name of the city in India. And once it is done, it will reason again. Now planning is required because first we need to fetch the location, and once that AI agent is done, it will now know the city, it will now fetch the current weather. So again action take, and here it will call weather API, and again once the weather API get fetched, it will do the 34 degrees Celsius, partially cloud, humidity 58%. So this is the response it generates for you. and this is your final result in the form of natural language answer, and you got the response. So this is how the entire AI agents actually work, and not only with the Codex, but all the AI agents works in the same principle. Now the flow I have shown you here is just a win-win flow, means everything works successfully here. But in case if anything gets failed in between, let's say when it doing the action for calling the weather API, and in between the weather API gets failed due to some catastrophic events, let's say a network issue or some HTTPS code, whatever the reason, if it get failed, then what will happen? It will run the loop again. It will again do the planning just like it does here for the planning. Same, if any error occurs in between, it will do the same thing again, and that we call them as agentic loop. Means if any error comes in between, we don't have to put the error again back to it and then ask that solve this error. Instead, it will look at the result, and based on that, it will do the things again until it receives the final output for us based on our query. So this is how the AI agents work. Now, if we talk about the Codex particularly, then Codex is not only limited to the software engineering field. That means you are not going to use Codex for instruction based on your code base. Even though if you are a non-technical person and you want the Codex to do some task for your work, let's say you want to send email to that particular email address through your Gmail app and want to send particular subject, at that time also Codex will work there. And even though if you want to execute the Codex to the particular app in your computer, then also your Codex will work there. But the thing is that the main purpose of Codex is to design or trained in a software engineering field. That's why OpenAI basically use GPT 5.5, 5.4 models, which are specifically trained in software engineering field. So it's a win situation for the people who are using it Codex for the developer point of view, but for the non-technical person, it will work, but not up to the mark or not up to the desired output. So that's all about the Codex. I hope you get the clear picture what is Codex and how these Codex AI agents actually works. So as we discussed now that just like Codex, there are a bunch of agents out there like Claude Code, Cursor, Copilot and few more. And when we start exploring them, only one thing keeps increasing, and that is confusion. We feel like that why all these agents available when they all works on the same principle. Like first they do planning, then taking actions, and then storing in the memory for reference. See, the thing is that although these all agents work on the same principle, there is something which makes them different. Not in terms of feature, because that of course remains same in them, but in terms of personality while it doing the actions. See, there are some agents who work on the fast environment. Means, as soon as you give them the task, they do not spend much time in reasoning and planning. Instead, they start taking action as soon as possible. And even though there are some agents who works on the local environment, while there are some agents who works on cloud environment too. So if we talk about specifically to Codex, it comes under the fast agent category with cloud environment. That means if we have given some task to the Codex, it will take actions without doing much research and planning. Now while it do so, it comes with advantages and disadvantages. Now the disadvantage is that the output it will generate will not up to the mark. It requires more iteration to fix the error that it has generated in the output. And the reason for that is that because it has not spent much time in reasoning, it just take the actions based on your task as soon as possible. But the good part is that it will use less token. And the reason of using it the less token is that because it has not spent much time in reasoning, it just take the actions based on your task as soon as you have given them. Now, in the whole room of these agents, there are two everyone keeps comparing, and that is Codex and Claude Code. And I think their comparison makes sense also, because if you have ever used Claude Code before, you know how powerful it is when it comes to coding. And the reason of it for being so powerful is because it takes more time in planning before taking an action. And because of that, the output it will generate will be perfect in the one go itself. But it doesn't mean that you should blindly follow Claude Code over Codex, because there are some other factors that you need to keep in mind. When you are using the Claude Code, it will give you the output for sure, which is better than Codex, but it will also use more tokens. So if budget is not your concern and you are happy with the token usage limit, you can definitely go with the Claude Code. But if you could ask me that which one is better, then I would say no one. Because the question is not which one is better or which one is not. The question is which one you should prefer based on your workflow. See, if you think that your task requires a less token and requires a less planning, you can go with a Codex to save your tokens. But if your task is complex and requires some more planning and your output is your concern, you can definitely go with the Claude Code. So decide based on your task, not based on the performance. So Although these agents keeps improving day by day, so maybe today Claude Code is better, but tomorrow it will be Codex. So keep an eye on these agents, and based on the performance and your workflow, you should decide which agents you should go with. So I hope it is clear to you that which agent you should choose while giving it to the task. So only one last thing is left before we start exploring Codex, and that is understanding its pricing and usage limit. And it's important to know, otherwise if your Codex stops working in the middle of any session, you might come back and blame me for not explaining how Codex usage limit actually works. Jokes apart. See, basically Codex uses are divided into two categories. One is subscription based and another one is API based. And even we can use Codex for free also, and later on once we understand our requirement, we can explore any one of this category. So as you can see here, if you are using Codex for the lightweight coding task, you can go with a $8 per month plan with Go. But if you are using Codex with extra features with the latest model like GPT 5.5, GPT 5.4, and you also want the ChatGPT other features like image generation model and video generation, you can go with the Plus plan with $20 per month, and people mostly prefer this one because it is affordable and it is also more than enough for day-to-day tasks. But if you are using Codex for more than one people, then Pro plan makes sense here with $100 per month. But if you are not happy with this subscription based method where you have to pay the specific amount every month, then you can also explore the API based method where you will only pay for the token you will consume while using the Codex. Now once you understand this pricing, then let's also see about usage limit. So as you can see on the screen, previously Codex keeps the track how much we have used it based on the message we have sent to it, but later in April 2026, it has not changed. Instead of keeping it based on the messages, they keeps it based on how many tokens we have consumed. And if we talk about the usage limit in Codex, then they basically shares a 5-hour rolling window limit and the weekly limit. So let's say if you have consumed your entire token within that 5-hour window limit, then your token will start getting reset after 5 hours. And the token that you will receive after that 5 hours will be in the rolling window manner, or we can say that in the sliding window manner. Now what this basically means, so after 5 hours, you will receive only those tokens that you have consumed exactly 5 hours ago from that time period. Okay, I know this sounds confusing. So let's take an example to make it more clear. So suppose within a 5 hours budget, you have 100% token. And you have to start using Codex at 9 AM where you have done the heavy coding sessions and you have used 60% of token. Now once you use the 60% token, then only 40% will left out of 100. Now let's say at 10:30 AM you again used Codex and you have consumed next 20%. So total 80% you have consumed out of 100%. And now only 20% is left. Now what will happen? At 2 PM your 60% token will get rolls off, because that token you have used exactly 5 hours ago at 9 AM. So that 60% will comes back to you, and the 20% which is left previously 5 hours window limit will also sum up in your 60% token limit. So total you will get 80% token limit at 2 PM. And then at 3:30 PM, your 20% will also get roll off that you have used at 10:30 AM, because from 10:30 AM to 3:30 AM that 5 hours window period also completed. So that token will also get rolls off, and total you will get 100 tokens limit. So you don't have to wait exactly after 5 hours to get your token limit reset. It will gradually keep resetting within that 5 hours window limit. Now, as I told you before, that it is not only based on the 5-hour rolling window, but also the weekly limit, which basically means that how much token you have consumed across that week. And you need to also make sure that you have enough token in that weekly limit. Otherwise, if your weekly limit get exhausted, then you have to wait for the weekly limit get reset, even though your 5-hour window limit has recovered. So it's very important to make sure that your weekly limit and your 5-hour rolling window limit both has token, so that you can continue using Codex. Now, once we understood how Codex usage limit actually works, the next question comes how we can actually keep a track that how many tokens we have consumed during session. So in Codex, there is no any built-in system where it warns or alerts you when you are about to reach the Codex limit. But there are some ways through which you manually get to know that how many tokens you have consumed and rest of the information about your token limits. So the one way of getting the information about this is going to the OpenAI platform, and here you can go to the usage section, and here you will find all the details about overall usage and the consumption of your tokens. As you can see here, I have a $120 credits, and out of them I have used $2.15 in July. And total I have spent $3.18. So you can get all those details here. And the next way of getting is through a command, which is a status command in Codex CLI. Now we'll discuss about this command later in the video also. But if you use this command, then you will get the current snapshot of the tokens that have used so far. So once you type this command, it will let you know that how many tokens you have used, what is your weekly limit has been reached, and rest of the informations as a current snapshot. But if you want a more real-time information and in a more convenient way, then you can use a third-party tool also. But again, they are not free. You have to pay a one-time subscription. And one of the tool is Session Watcher, which is basically for Codex only and only available in macOS. If you use that tool, then it will give you the real-time alerts as well as all the informations about how much you have used the tokens and rest of the details. As you can see on the monitor also that how it can shows all the informations about your token usage and the weekly limits. So yes, these are all the ways through which you can get to know about the Codex pricing and the usage limit and how you can monitor it. Now there are multiple ways of using Codex. We can use it directly through Codex App, run it as a CLI tool, integrate it into our IDE as an extension, or we can use directly in the cloud. So explore all these approaches one by one, and later when we dive deeper into Codex concept, we'll focus mainly on using Codex through CLI and IDE extension, because that is what we most often use while coding. So let's see the first one, which is using through Codex App. So go to the chatgpt.com/codex, and here you will find the download button. So click on this download and download it based on your operating system. And once you download and install it, then this is how the application will look like on your desktop. Now, although the application has a name ChatGPT instead of Codex, because Codex is the part of ChatGPT only, so Codex will available inside the ChatGPT app. Now, when you open this app for the first time, it will ask you for login. So simply sign in with your ChatGPT account. And once you sign in, this is how the application will look like. Now, let's have a quick walkthrough of this entire application. So as you can see here, the first thing we have new task. So here you can assign a task to ChatGPT or the Codex, and at the time it is running that task, you can define a new task also, which will run parallelly in the background. Although we'll come back to this part after some time where we can assign the task to Codex once we understand all the features. So if you look at the another thing, which is schedule task. So if you want to schedule a task which should run at a particular time every day, weekly, or the custom time, you can select here. Now there are two ways of creating the schedule task. You can just click on this create. Then you can create it with ChatGPT or you can set up manually. So if I go with the setup manually option, here you can schedule the task title, you can describe what ChatGPT should do with the task, and you can just do the minimal configuration like where it should run a new task on the existing task, or in which project it should run, then which model it should use, and how much time it should take in the reasoning or planning. You can define all those things. And you can also set the frequency like it should run this task on daily basis or in weekly. You can define that, and at which time it should run, you can define that also. And once you can define it, so let's say you want to get a summary of a calendar every day in the morning. So you can just define a task here, and then the next day when you open your ChatGPT or the Codex, you will automatically get the summary of your calendar which is generated by the Codex. Now if you look at the another feature which is plugin. So here if you want to use or give the access to the tools to Codex, you can just install that particular plugin and give it access. So as you can see here, I've already installed some of the plugins like documents, PDF, spreadsheets, and presentations and rest of the tool. So just install based on your use case like Notions and all. As you can see, I've also installed the computer use, which basically means if I want to open any application and want to give the full control to this Mac, I can use the computer use plugin, which will give full access to my Mac. Now another feature is sites. Now this is very useful when you want to turn your ideas into the live website. So let's say you want to share something with your friends or with the colleagues. You can just describe your idea or build something which will automatically generated by the ChatGPT itself inside this Codex app. So you don't have to manually go to the hosting platform where you will deploy it and generate the live URL. The ChatGPT will take care of this, and which you can share with other also. Now the another thing is pull request. So here you will review and track all the requests that you have done in your GitHub account, but you need to make sure that your GitHub CLI is set up and you have installed it in your Codex app. Now the another thing is chat. Now this is just a normal chat. It's nothing related to the Codex. So if you want to do any chat with just based on the query and the output generation, you can use the ChatGPT here itself in Codex. Just open it and you can just type the ChatGPT prompt here. You can just ask your query and it will generate the output for you. And although your entire chat history is available there because you are using the same account which you have logged in with the ChatGPT. So once you understand all these features, the next thing is project section. So here you can create any project and then you can do any task inside that project. Or if you want to use any existing project, you can select that also. As you can see here, we have two options. Now the next thing is task. So if you don't want to create any project or go with any existing project, you can just simply define or assign a task to Codex, which will also work here. Now after understanding all these features, let's go to the profile section also. So if you click on here, you can see here the first thing we have a usage remaining. So this will tell how much you have used Codex till now. So if you click on here, it will tell that this is your weekly limit and I have used 92% out of 100 and my weekly limit will get reset on 20 July. So as we discussed before, that Codex is basically track the usage limit of your Codex based on two things, which is a 5-hour rolling window limit as well as weekly limit. So here you will only see the weekly limit, but if you want to see the token limit also, then we have discussed the ways like /status command or the third-party tool. So you can see from there itself. Now if you want to upgrade to Pro, that also option available here. Now there are one option available which is 4 resets. So let's say if you have already exhausted your limit before the weekly limit reach, then you can just have an option to reset the limit. As you can see, my weekly limit will get reset on 20 July. But if I reach my limit before, then I have an option to reset it before 20 July also. But that option is available only for the 4 time. So if you have used these 4 options also and still you want to reset your limit before your weekly limit, then you can add more credit also. So when you click on this add credit, here you can just select any one of the plan, let's say $1.20. Here we'll get 500 credits. So you can start using Codex wherever you have left off without upgrading your plan. Now the another option we have is show pad. Now this is only for the UI. So if I click on the show pad, you can see this, we have this cute pad available here. You can just drag and put it anywhere you want to put. It just gives you the information that what is currently running on your Codex in the form of pop-up or the tooltip. And also it looks cute here. So if you want to keep, you can just keep it. Or if you want to hide, just click on hide and it will get hide here. Now let's go to the settings also. Now in settings, we have a personal option where you can personalize your Codex based on your requirement. And here you can see the pets option also available. So as you can see here, right now we are using the default Codex pet. But if you want to use some different pet also, you can select one of them from here. Now if you look at the integration section, there are 4 options available, which is app shot. Now this is very useful because if you want to give a snapshot of any application, let's say you are using Chrome and you want to ask any question to that snapshot, you can just take a screenshot of that and then put it to the ChatGPT. Now before this app shot feature, how we usually do it, we just take a screenshot and then upload it from our system. But with the help of app shot, you can use the shortcut command which will automatically take the screenshot and attach it to the chat. I'll show you how to do this. So you can see here, it says a hotkey where it will say if you use both commands in your keyword together, then it will capture the screenshot and it will attach to the chat. So let me open a Chrome browser here. So let's say if I want to give this screenshot to my Codex app. So I can just click my both commands together. And as you can see here, as soon as I click, it just captures the screenshot and automatically attach to my chat. So this is very useful. And now you can ask any questions related to the chat. Let's say what is available here and how can I fix any UI, like what is available here. Now let's look at another feature also. Now in app shot, we have a app shot destination also like automatic. Like by default, it is selected to automatically, which basically means uses the current chat if you use recently, otherwise it starts a new chat. But if you always want your snapshot to be available in the current chat, then you can select this one. And if you want it to go new chat, then you can select this one. And then if you want to play a sound effect, you can enable and disable it from here based on your preference. Now the another thing is plugins. So this is the same thing that we have seen before also. It will list all the plugins that you have installed in your Codex app. Now the third one is browser. Now this is the ChatGPT inbuilt browser. It will tell how you want to manage your browser. Like if you want to open any web URL, where it should get open. It should get open inside your ChatGPT app or the default browser. You can select it from here. And whatever the site you will generate, like the live URL it will generate, that URL will get open by default inside your ChatGPT browser. So you can manage how that browser should look like and what are the things available there. Now the next thing is the computer use. So this is the integration I have done. Now in the computer use, I have given permission to my any app. That means whatever the app I want to open it through my Codex app, I'm able to use it. I'll show you how you can do this. But as you can see, I have given the permission to my all the app and the Google Chrome as well, Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint. And I can also enable this also. So if my MacBook get locked, then also ChatGPT will run the task in the background. If you look at the coding section, here the first thing is hooks. Now, what does it basically mean? This is basically useful to automate your work. So let's say you have given access to the one of the repository to the Codex and you want that before it take any actions to that repository, it should first always run a pull command so that it will get the latest changes. So instead of manually typing all these instructions every time in the prompt, you can just define a hook here, which will automatically get inject at the time it will take action for that repository. Now another example also, let's say when the task get completed inside your repository, you want that it should always run a test command using the npm run test. So you can create a hook for that also. That hook will automatically get inject in the task and when it gets completed. So this is basically used to automate your task. Now the another thing is connections. Now this is basically used when you want to control this Mac remotely from another devices, like from your mobile phone or from the another desktop. So you can just simply click on this add button. And here, if you want to connect it with your mobile phone, just click on this phone. It will generate the QR code. Just scan it from your mobile phone and your Codex app will get connect there. But if you want to connect it with your desktop, then click on the computer button. Here, it will generate the code. Just go to the particular path like settings, connections, control other devices, and then enter this code. Then you're able to control this Mac from that device. Although I have tried the phone method, I tried my phone to connect with this Codex app. So I want to show you that. So I'll just enter my password here. So as you can see, it says Naman's MacBook Air.local. So I've already connected it before, but I don't know what's the issue. It's been in the loading phase for 10 minutes. So maybe I need to reconnect it again or maybe restart the application. But although I'm able to connect it and I am able to control my Mac from my mobile application. So in this way, you can also connect your also, and then you can remotely work with that. Now the another option is available here, which is Git. Now you can define how your Git repository should work in the Codex. Let's say Codex is generating any branch to that repository. So you can define that when it generates the branch and what should be the name. Like you can define here that it should always start with the prefix which is Codex. So later on we can identify that this branch is generated by the Codex. And the another thing, you can define that how it should merge your pull request and which method it should use. Like by default, it uses the merge method, which basically means that merging all the commits whatever the Codex had generated. But if you want to use the squash command also, then you can use that also, which basically means before merging all the commit, it will first generate a single commit, which is a clean commit, then it will merge. I basically prefer the squash command because I don't want to make all the commits available in my repository, because agents by default create multiple commits for each output. So I first prefer to create a clean commit over all those commit message and then merge it to my repository. So based on your requirement, you can select any one of the method. Now the another thing we can select here, always force push. By default it is disabled, but you can enable it. But you need to understand that it force with a lease, which basically means that if any changes are already available in that repository, then it will not forcefully push your changes. So it will not always force push, it always force with lease. Now the another thing is create a draft pull request. So it will create a pull request draft. And the another thing is review delivery. So you can just review it based on the inline and the detached. And the another thing is commit instructions and the pull request instructions. If you want to give any instruction like how the commit message should generate, what should be the format there, you can just define the instruction here. And same instruction you can define for the pull request also. So yeah, this is all about the Git instructions. Now let's go to the another one, which is environment. So environment, if you want to define any environment variable to the project, you can just select the project here and give all the access to the environment variable to that project here. So later if Codex are working on that particular project and they want to access to that any particular environment variable, they can get access from there itself. Now the next thing is Worktree. Now just like Git Worktree, we have a Codex Worktree also, which basically means if Codex is working on a repository, then it will not make changes directly to your main repository. Instead, it will create a copy of that main repository and apply changes there. Now this is useful because if Codex is doing any changes which you do not want directly on your main repository. Now once it creates a copy of that repository, you can just review all the changes and then apply in your main repository. Now the thing is that as you can see, it is a Worktree root, which basically means you can define that where that copy repository should be generated, at which directory. If you leave it as by default, which basically means it will automatically decide at which path it should keep the copy of your repository. But if you want to define a particular directory, let's say inside a user folder or inside a particular folder, you can just define the path here. Now the next thing is that automatically delete old work trees. So if you don't want to keep the old work trees, you can just keep disable or enable based on your requirement. And then you can also set the limit also, like how many work trees it should keep. So if you select here 15, then only the latest 15 work trees will be available and rest all will get deleted automatically. So the next thing is archive tasks. So whatever the task you have archived, you can manage it from here. So now let's go back to the new task option and assign a task to the Codex. So if I go back here and the new task. Let's say I want to define a task without any project. I don't want to give any project or use any existing project. It will be the normal task only. So let's say I want to build a normal website and want to deploy it within a ChatGPT itself. So I can just use a @site plugin. So as you know, we have discussed about this before also. Using the site plugin, it will not only build your application, but also create a live URL which you can share with others. So let's say I want to build a 2D application, just a normal application. I'm just testing out how Codex will execute my task. So if I just write here, build a to-do website. Okay. And when I click enter, it will start generating my website. Now, before generating, I want to show what are the things available in this chat. Like the first thing is that model. Here you can select that which model you should use here. Right now, I'm able to access my 5.6 or the latest model because I'm in the plus plan. That's why I'm able to access all those latest models. I can define the effort also, that how much effort it should take while executing my task. And then the speed also, like standard or the fast. And then we have the option which is approval. So by default, it is asked for approval. That means if we do any changes in my external files or if we want to get access to the internet, it will always takes my permission. But if I want to keep the permission only for the sensitive information, then I can go with the approve for me option. But if I want to give full access to my Codex, that means it will not ask any question to me, just take actions by themselves. Then I can go with the full access method also. But let it be asked for approval for now. And now let's click on the enter button. By the way, you can click on this plus icon also, where you can just define other feature also, like add other plugins, or maybe you want to upload any files and folder from your system, you can upload from this plus icon. It will also generate the summary here in the sidebar. As you can see here, the output, it says create a file or site, sources, attach a file or connect app. So we can see the summary also here. Now it asks me the approval, so I can just click on allow once. Okay, so now I get the network permission. It does the thinking, which is comes under the reasoning part. It again needs a permission, so I just click on allow once. By the way, if you want to see that what are the files it has generated and what are the code available in that file, you can just open in the VS Code. As you can see this option. So when you click on this, it will open your entire project in your VS Code. But if you want to see the folder only, then you can go with the Finder or the terminal, or you want to select the another IDE also. And later on, if any other changes it will do, you just need to open it again in the VS Code. Those later changes will also available in that code. And at the time it is building the website, I can also show you that how much token I have used till now. As we discussed before, we have option of using the /status command. So if I type here /status, when I click enter, you can see that it shows that this is the current session, which I can copy also. And the context that I have only 73% left. That means I have used 69 tokens so far out of 258k tokens. And this is my weekly limit also available here. So I can see the entire stats of my current conversation through status command. Okay, it says that your site is ready. I am publishing it privately now. Let's see how well it generates. I can review the changes also by clicking here. So these are all the changes it is doing. So it has now generated the website. As we can see here, this is a website. And when I click on it here, it will open the ChatGPT browser in my Codex app itself. And this is how the website looks like. And at the first glance, website is very good. It looks very neat and clean. Let's see the functionalities are working or not. So let's say if I add a new task, which I can add from here. Let's say I say the recording and today. Work, personal, let it be today. And when I click add task, okay, recording task is available here. So all the functionalities are also working. I can just set the status whether it is open or done. So if I click done, yeah, it has not changed here also. I can remove my task. I can clear complete task like this. So perfect. I just want to open this on the Chrome browser also to see how the things work there also. Although it will remain same exactly like this, but let's see how it will look in the Chrome. So just copy this URL and let's go to the Chrome. Okay, here I need to first log in with the ChatGPT to access my website. Okay, so it requires some steps. Let's leave it for now. We can review it from here itself only because it will look same like that in the browser also. So if I just expand it a little bit more, it is responsive. That's a good part. Perfect. That's what I want to show you, that if you use a site plugin, then it not only build the website, but it also generate the URL, which you can share with others also. Now, you can just define the project also where you can work on your existing project. You can work with your GitHub repository and all the things in this Codex app. Now let's see how we can open any application through Codex app itself using that plugin that we have discussed before, which is computer use plugin. So if I open the new task here, I can just type @ and when I type, it will list all the plugins that I have installed. So I'll just write here the name of the plugin which I want to use, which is computer, and I click enter. So this is the plugin I want to use. I'll just write here, let's say open calculator. And when I click enter, it will do planning. And it says that I'm using the computer user skill here since you asked for the computer plugin directly. And I'm opening the instructions before I operate the app. And let's see whether it will open my calculator app or not. Okay, so it's now need my permission. So I just say allow this conversation. And as you can see here, it says calculator is open and we are able to see the calculator here. So it has opened the calculator and we are now able to use it. So in this way, you can open the any application in your Mac if you have used the computer any plugin, because you have given the entire control to this Mac. Now the another plugin is also available. If I click on @ and then let's say if I use the browser plugin or maybe the GitHub plugin for the GitHub repository. So and the site plugin we have already seen. Let's say if I use the browser and let's say if I want to ask any questions. So I just click on the try now just for the by default question. It says that test my checkout flow on localhost. And when I click enter, it will open and run the things in my localhost browser, which is the ChatGPT browser itself. As you can see, it says I'm going to use the in-app browser tooling to exercise your localhost checkout flow. And this is how this pet actually works. It will show you the information of the current thing that is running on your Codex app. Okay, it will take time to check out my flow in the localhost. But the thing is that I want to explain you how you can use the different plugins to work on that particular tool. Okay, it needs my approval. So I just click on allow once. Again, I click on allow once. Click on allow once again. Allow once. Okay, I think it will take some time to review the things and to check out my flow on localhost. But the thing is that I want to just show you that how you can use the different plugins and access the particular tool from the Codex only. So that's all the overview of the Codex app. I hope you understand how the things work here. Install using it on your system and start using it and then see how it's work for you. So now let's see how we can use Codex on the web. Every feature will remain same exactly like we have seen in the Codex app. Only the thing is that you do not have to install an app to use Codex. So if you want to use it on the web, just go to the ChatGPT website and here you will see two options. First one is chat and the second one is work. So if you want to do the normal ChatGPT work, you can do it in the chat option. But if you want to assign a task to Codex, then you can switch to work option. And here you will see all the features like you can choose a project, add a plugins, and even you can open the desktop app from here itself. And when I open the sidebar, we are able to schedule the task from the schedule option from Codex web itself, and we are able to manage all the plugins. And when I click on the more option, site option is also available there. That means we are able to build and deploy the website from Codex web itself. Now you just need to make sure one thing, that if you want to use the Codex web, then you must have at least a subscription plan, because on free plan this will not work. So just to show you, if I open my ChatGPT on free plan, then you can see that chat and work option is not there. And we can see here also that we are in the free plan. And even if I open the sidebar, that schedule option is not there, as well as if I open the more, that site option is also not there. It shows me the Codex option. So if I open this one, so you can see here, instead of opening the Codex web, it will redirect me to download the Codex app, because on free plan we cannot use it. So we need to keep in mind if we want to use Codex web. Now if we go back to our plus plan, then here, let's say if I want to use a GitHub plugin to review the changes in my repository, so I can just use here @ and call my GitHub plugin. And there I can give the task whatever I want to use for my repository. But you need to make sure that your GitHub account is connected to Codex, then only it will access all your repository. So to make sure, just go to your profile and open the settings, and here you can go to the plugins, and in the GitHub you can see that my GitHub account is already connected with Codex. And if you click on this three dot, it will shows that a reconnect and the disconnect option. This will only show if you have already connected your GitHub account. And here also we can see that this GitHub plugin contains some skills like review follow-up, CI debug, GitHub, and publish changes. Although we will understand about these skills when we understand Codex in ID extension, we will create our own skills and understand it in detail. But just now understand that this plugin contains some skills, and based on your task, it will decide that what skill it should use. Now when Codex take action based on your task, it will also look at the skills, and whatever the skills is required at that time, it will use that skill to execute the task. So if I go back here, I can use the GitHub plugin as well as any other plugin if I want to use, and I can assign the task to my Git Codex from the web itself. So yeah, this is all how you can use the Codex on web. Again, just make sure you have a subscription plan if you want to use Codex on the web. So now let's see how we can use Codex inside your terminal, which runs on your local machine. So whenever you want to use Codex with just commands only, then you can use Codex CLI instead of Codex App and web. So to install Codex CLI on your local machine, just go to the website, which is again chatgpt.com/codex. And here when you scroll down all the way down, here you will find a way Codex CLI. So you can copy this command, which just start with npm, and then run this command on your terminal to install the Codex CLI. But there are other options also available. If you don't want to install it with npm, then you can go to the Codex CLI docs, this one. And here when you go to the available on section, then you will find a Codex CLI option. You can click on this, and here multiple options available to download it. You can go with the macOS or Linux option, or Windows npm or homebrew option. But if you are using the npm version, then you need to make sure that Node.js is installed in your system. Otherwise this npm will not work. By the way, if you want to verify whether Node.js is installed or not on your system, then you can just open the terminal, and here you can type node ---- version, and when you click enter, it will show you the version. If you are able to see this version on your system, that means Node.js is installed. If not, then you need to install it first to use the npm way. So we can copy any one of the command from here, and then we can install Codex CLI. But what I can do, instead of installing it from here, I'll install it from the changelog, because there we get the latest version of the Codex CLI. So I'll just open Codex changelog and this one, and here you can see we have all the updates. So I would also recommend you to always prefer to go with the Codex changelog, because here you will get to know what is the new version is coming from the Codex CLI and all, and based on that you can download it. So you can copy one of these command from here. As you can see, in July 2026, they have launched a new update, which is a Codex version 0.144.5. Even though in July itself, they have launched a different version, which is 0.144.4, but now it's different. So keep an eye on this, and based on this only, you have to install the version. But now I've already installed this particular command 0.144.4. So I'm not going to install again for you. Even though I'll just show you how we can install, just copy this command. Then again open your terminal, and here just paste it. And the moment you paste it and click enter, it will install on your system. And now once you install, the next step is you need to use it in your terminal. But now how to use it? It's very simple. What you need to do, whenever you want to use Codex in your system inside your directory, let's say inside your project or inside your repository, you just go to your directory and then just type here Codex. And when you type and click enter, you are ready to use Codex. You can see here, it tells me to update the version as I show you here that as we can see here again, the latest version is 0.144.5. But before recording this video, I have installed the 0.144.4. That's why it gives me an update. So if you have already installed, then later on they will automatically lets you know that what's the latest version is coming right now. So you can update from your terminal itself only. But right now I don't want to update the latest version. Let's skip for now. And so I'll just click on this skip. Now see, when you open the Codex for the first time in your terminal, it will ask you to sign in. Now there are 3 ways of signing. You can go with ChatGPT, or you can connect to another device with one-time code, or you can use your own API key. So I would prefer to go with the sign in with ChatGPT because I already have a plan here, which is a plus plan. But if you are exploring a ChatGPT for the first time and you want to only pay for the money, which based on how much token you have used, then you can go with your API key method. But let's go with the sign in with ChatGPT for now. So I'll just click enter, and when I click enter, it will redirect me to the ChatGPT. Here I have an option to use it. So I don't want to log in ChatGPT through this account. So I'll go with the account where I have a plus plan. So I'll just open this my account, and here I'll just use my continue with Google, and it says continue, and yes, sign into the Codex. Now we can close this window, and here we can close this one also. And now when we go to the terminal, it says that you have signed in successfully, and you can say that before you start, decide how much autonomy you want. Codex can mistake. Okay, these are the things, no worries. Just click on this enter now. And now once you click enter, you can see we have a terminal UI. Now this is the place where you start using Codex. So let me increase the size of the terminal to the full like this. And now if you want to use the Codex, you are now ready to use it. Whatever the command, whatever the task you want to give, you can give it from the terminal itself. Now before we start discussing about more concepts in Codex CLI, let's talk about the safety and security also, because right now you are using Codex CLI inside your system only. So you may have concern that what if I run any command which can access my local files, or which can change my system configuration, or can access my app in my system. We have these concerns. See, the thing is that basically ChatGPT, or I can say that Codex, takes care of this. How it will take care? So whenever you run Codex CLI inside any project, they make sure that it can only access the things inside that project only. If you want to take access to the outside of project with the command, then it needs to first take access from you. That means approval from you. Now basically Codex uses sandbox environment, which basically decides some rules and policies that what are the things it should access inside that project, and if we want to access anything outside, then how much permission we should give it. All those things, rules, are decided inside the sandbox, and that sandbox create a isolated environment inside your project. So each time you use Codex inside any project, that project is an isolated environment. So your Codex cannot access something which is outside of that project. Now this is not only managed in the Codex level itself only, your OS also takes care of this. So whatever the policies your Codex decide using sandbox environment, all those policies are transferred to your operating system also. Whatever you are using, macOS, Ubuntu, or Windows, it will get transferred there. And then operating system has their own tools. Like if you talk about the macOS, they have a tool which is seatbelt. So based on those tools, it will make sure that whatever the policies the Codex define inside the sandbox environment, based on those policies only, the Codex are allowed to access the project or access the other things in your system. So this is how Codex actually manage. Now these are the by default settings which is configured by the Codex. But if you want to change the settings based on your requirement, you are able to do that because they have their own configuration system where you can manipulate the things. Now if you remember that we have seen in the Codex app also, let me open it for you. If you can see here in the Codex app, when we go to the settings, we have seen this a configuration option inside of a personal section. So when you open this configuration, you can see there are some by default settings available. As you can see, we have an approval policy which is an on request. So by default, it is on approval. Means if you want to take access of something which is outside of your project, it will first take an approval from you. So we have by default settings set like this. And we have a sandbox setting also like read only, workspace write, full access. and same for the model feature as well as workspace dependency. So inside our app, we can manipulate this configuration setting. But the thing is that right now we are inside our Codex CLI. We don't have any user interface where we can go to this particular option and click on this particular button to change the setting. So how we can change it in the Codex CLI? We can change it by creating our own configuration file. So in Codex, when you install it for the first time, let's say we are using the Codex CLI. So when you install it, it will generate a system generated file for you inside your user directory, or we can say that the home directory, with the name .codex. So I can show you now. So let me open this Finder. If you're in the window, then you can open your File Explorer. So when you go to your home directory, you can see these are all the folders available here. Now, in this same home directory, the Codex folder is also being generated by the Codex itself, but it is not visible like this because that's a hidden folder. So to see that folder, what you can do in macOS, there is a shortcut command which you can use Command Shift and period, and when you enter, you can see we have all the hidden files that are available in this home directory. So when you scroll down, so you can see in this case we have this .codex file, or we can say the folder. Same like that we have a .Claude also, because I have used the Claude code also before in my system. That's why we have system generated Claude folder. But if you look at this .codex folder, then in this folder, we have to create our own config.toml file. As you can see here, this config.toml file is already available, but in your case, it will not available because I have already created it before. That's why it is showing here. I'll show you how you can create your own config.toml file and how you can manipulate the settings there. So once you see this folder, which is a .codex folder, you can go to the terminal inside this folder and you can create this file, which is config.toml file. So what we can do, we can open this folder by clicking on the right click, and we can say that new terminal at folder. Terminal has been opened. We can just also check whether we are in the correct folder or not. So when I click ls, we can see all the files that are available inside that .codex folder. Now if I want to create my config.toml file, so what I can do, I can just write here command which is touch. This is a shell command. So I can write here touch and then the name of my file, which is config.toml. And when I click enter, it will create my file. I'll not create it right now because it is already available on my system. So once you create it, you can just go with ls command to see whether it is available or not. So when you click, you are able to see this type of file in your system. Now once you create this file, you can open it and do the changes there. So what we can do here, we can open this file in our VS Code and see what the things available here. So we have this VS Code and we can see this is how file looks like. As you can now see here, in this file, there are some predefined settings available. As you can see, we have a model, which is a GPT 5.4. Now, if you remember in terminal, if you open this terminal here, you can see when we start Codex and when the terminal UI starts, you can see it says that by default GPT model is 5.4 with the reasoning effort medium. We have not set this model. It is by default model. And it also shows the directory that you are using it in the user directory right now. So how this model is set by default? It is set because it is already configured in our config.toml file. But if you want to use some other model as a by default model, you can just change it in your config.toml file. And also you can define the reasoning effort. And same like that, there are some other settings also available. You can read all those settings and get to know what are the things available inside config.toml file. Now I want to show you more things about this. As I told you before, that you can change the sandbox setting also, right? That we have seen in the Codex app also, that read only or write workspace only. You can change all those settings here. Now, one doubt may come in your mind that why we have to create this file, that when we have created this file, this entire configuration will be applicable to all the folders. Why? Because we have created this file inside our Codex folder, which is in home directory. So every folder comes under that home directory only. So these entire settings will available in all the projects wherever you are going to use Codex. But you don't want this. You don't want that why in every project a same model should get used and the same setting should get used. I want my different settings for each project, right? And that's true. You want that. So what you can do, if you want a different settings inside your project, you can create your own config.toml file there inside that project itself. And next time when you use Codex inside that project, it will override your settings, whatever you have defined in your global Codex folder, which we have seen in this one in home directory. But you need to make one thing sure, that if you are using inside your project as a different config.toml file, then you have to trust that folder inside your global file. As you can see here, these are all the folders which I have already granted in my config.toml file. So if I want to use Codex inside this folder and want to create a separate configuration there, then I have to first trust that folder. Otherwise, those configuration will totally get ignored by Codex, even though you have created inside your project. As you can see, we have this project and we have set the property which is trust level with trusted here. So you can set your project if you want to use your own configuration inside your project. Okay, now once we have seen this, let's try it out also. So we have this GPT 5.4 and medium. So right now we are using Codex inside our own terminal in our local system, but we can use it in the VS Code terminal also because both are same. So I can now just run Codex inside this terminal. I'll just write here Codex, and when I click enter, it will start using Codex here. I just need to skip because I don't want to install the latest version, and my Codex is started. Okay. Now for the better view, I would like to keep this terminal in the side instead of bottom. So I just change the setting here. Appearance, we have option, I think so here. Panel position, yes, we go to the right side. Okay, now we can see Codex, how it actually works here better. So we have this terminal and we can see it is using GPT 5.4 medium version. But now let's say if I change this model here, let's say if I change to GPT 5.4 mini, this one. And even if I change the reasoning effort, let's say from medium to, I want it, let's say high. Or high doesn't make sense here because we're using the 5.4 mini. So I think fast makes sense here. Fast. And when I say save, this time, let me exit from my Codex. I'll use the command which is exit. And now when I start my Codex again by writing the command which is Codex enter and again skip. Now this time you can see the by default model it is using is GPT 5.4 mini with the reasoning effort as fast. So in this way you can define your own by default settings in the config.toml file. Now let's see one more thing in the security setting. Let's say you are working in your project and you want that when you are using some command to give some task to the Codex, you want that that particular task should use a different model because you don't want to waste your token. Let's say you only want to change the variable name inside that project. Now just to change that variable name in your project, would you use your high model which takes a long token, let's say GPT 5.5 or 5.6? Of course not. You will not use those model because you are just changing your file name. So in that case, you can create a different profile in your configuration settings. And whenever you feel like that this task requires a less token and less reasoning effort, you can switch to that particular profile and assign that model to that particular task. Now how to create this profile? So to create that, you can go to the terminal again. This terminal, here we are already inside our Codex folder. So if you want to create a profile, let's say I want to create a profile for a fast model. So those type of tasks which requires a low reasoning effort, I can choose that particular profile. So I'll just create the file name by using the command touch. And then I can just write a fast or whatever the name suits for you based on your requirement. I'm using a fast because I'm creating a low reasoning effort model. So I'm just writing a fast, then dot config dot toml. Once you write this name and click enter, your file will generate it inside that Codex folder. So I'll show you here. Now if you go down, that folder should available here, I think so. Codex, this one, when you go down, yes, we have our fast.config.toml file. Now let's open this file inside our VS Code and see what things available here. So when we click enter, so we can see that it's completely empty. But if you look at the config.toml file, then it has some predefined settings because this is the main file and this is the file which we have created. It's a custom file. So we have to define all the rules by ourselves here. So now in this fast.config.toml file, if I want to use the low reasoning model, I'll just define a model, or instead of defining here, I'll just copy it from my config.toml and then I'll only change the model name and the reasoning effort. So I'll just copy this and paste it here. Now, let's say I want to use a model 5.4 mini here only for the low reasoning effort, and I'll go with, let's say I want it to use medium. Okay. And now in the config.toml file, I'll change it to the previous setting where it automatically use 5.4 with medium, or let's say I want to use high, this one. Okay, so now we have two profiles. First one is the normal, which is the main file config.toml, and second one is created by us, which is a fast.config.toml. Now if I want to use this profile to delegate the task to that particular model, so we just write a codex, then hyphen and then profile, because we have created our own profile. Now whenever we write like hyphen profile or some other name after hyphen, we basically call it as flags in Codex. So there are different flags available in Codex. Based on that, you can decide that what particular task should do Codex. Right now I want to use my profile flag. That's why I use a double hyphen and then the name, which is profile. And now I can just give the name of my file, which is fast. So I'll just write here fast, and then I can delegate any task to it. Let's say I want to say what's available in this file. So I'll just say what is available, or instead of this, I can just write here what this file contains. And now when I click enter, it starts working and it want to use. So I will say allow. As you can see this, it asks me for the allow because we have discussed about the safety purpose also. that it uses some by default settings. Because of that only it asks our approval, because it is accessing our file which is fast.config.toml to read the content inside this. So that is what we discuss about the safety purpose. So now you can see this. It says it using the GPT 5.4 mini and with a medium reasoning effort. And I think we are able to see that also, that which model it has used while doing all this effort. I think we are able to see that. Okay, we are not able to see, but we are able to see that we use the show with profile test. The main change is that your base default is GPT 5.4 with high reasoning are overridden at GPT 5.4 mini with medium reasoning, because we are using our flag which is profile. So in this way, you can create multiple flags or multiple profiles, and you can delegate the task based on how much reasoning if it requires. So that's all about the settings. Now let me show you one more thing about the safety, that how it actually asks for our approval when it is accessing something outside of our project. So if I go back to the terminal and here, so let's say if I ask that open a particular app from the terminal. So let's say if I say open calculator. Now you already know that this is outside of the project task. So when I say enter, it will definitely ask for my approval, because that's a by default settings in our sandbox environment. So yeah, you can see it says that would you like to run the following command? If I granted yes, then it will open the calculator, and if I deny, then it will not open. So I'll just say yes for now, and it says calculator open. So let's see whether it has opened or not. So if I just minimize this, so yes, we are able to see the calculator here, and this is our own system calculator, not a calculator which is generated by Codex and all. Our own macOS calculator here. So in this way, you can grant the permission if you want to accessing something which is outside of your project, and you can change this setting also, which we have seen in the config.toml file. So that's all about safety and the security settings. So now let's see one of the most important thing in Codex CLI, which is commands, or basically we can call it as /commands. Now we are not using a Codex web or app where you can do everything from the buttons and all. Everything is running in your terminal, so only the command is the option to work with Codex CLI. Now, if you remember that in previous videos, we have talked about one of the command, which is a /status command, through which you can see how much token usage you have used and how much weekly limit is left. So how that command is actually working? That's actually a / command. And same like that, there are other commands also available in Codex CLI, which we are going to see now. So if you want to use any of the command, you just type a /. And when you type /, it will give you the list of all the / commands that are available in Codex. So we can just move down here. We have model, fast, ID. So we'll discuss some of them, which is useful. So we can see we have permission, key map, vim, experimental, approve, memories, skills, and lot more. So let's discuss the first one. Suppose we are using the /model here. And if I want to change the model, as we can see right now, currently it is using the GPT 5.4 with medium effort. If I want to change the model to something else with some different reasoning effort, I can just use the command which is /model. And when I click enter, it will ask me that which model would you like to use. And it also give me the information that currently you are using the GPT 5.4. As we can see, this is a current model. And this is the default model, which is GPT 5.6. So if I want to change, let's say I want to go with GPT 5.6. I just click enter. I can decide the reasoning effort, whether low, medium, high. I'll go with higher. And when I click enter, my model has changed. And now currently it is using GPT 5.6 Luna. Now, this is the one command. Let's use another one also. Suppose if I want to increase the speed of my model, I want to use the /fast command here to increase the speed to 1.5x. I can use here, but you need to also make sure that it will use more tokens compared to the previous model. So if you want a task which requires a fast and you want to complete it as soon as possible, you can switch to the /fast command. Now the another one is /id. When you use this command, your current session, whatever you are running in Codex CLI, will transfer to your Codex ID. We have not discussed about the Codex ID section yet, but if you use the Codex ID extension in VS Code, then your current session and the chat will get transferred to that ID. Now the next thing is the permission. Now this is an important one, because if you remember that when we talk about the safety in sandbox environment, it always asks our approval when we are trying to access something which is outside of your project, right? So if you want to change the setting, you can change it from the / command itself. You can just use the / permission here, and when you click enter, it will ask you for 3 ways of using it. Either you can give it as ask for approval, which is the default one. But if you want to approve for the things which is sensitive only, then you can go with the second option, which is approve for me. And if you want to get the full access to the Codex, you trust the Codex a lot, you can just go with the third option, which is full access. And based on your requirement, you can switch between them. But I would like to keep it as ask for approval, because I don't want to access any external files apart from this project. So I'll keep it as ask for approval. So every time it will ask for my approval. Now the next thing you can see here is we have approve, which is exactly works same like this permission. We have memories, skills. We'll discuss about skills later. Hooks, review, rename, new, archive, delete, resume. Okay, let's talk about the resume command also. Now, what does the resume command actually mean? Suppose you are using the Codex CLI and you are working in any chat, and now let's say you get exit, and next day you come back again to the Codex CLI and you want to continue with the same chat. You can continue it with the /resume command. So if I type here /resume and when I click enter, it will say these are all your current chat that you are using. As you can remember that we are using it from the VS Code terminal. This was the last one which we have used, which is the open calculator. And then we have before that we have used the Codex profile for fast, where we have write the content, which is what this file contain. And the previous one we have used without question mark. So all those chat you are able to see here with the timestamp also, that when was the last time you have used it. You can switch between them and continue your task from there itself. Okay, so with the /resume command, you are able to do this. Now let's escape from here. And let's see the another thing. Suppose if we look at the command which is let's say we want to use a command delete, we can delete the particular session. If you use a command delete here, it will ask me that whether you want to keep this session or you want to delete and exit. So if you want to permanently delete, you can use the /delete command. Now escape from there also. I don't want to delete my session. Now another thing is the subagent personality exit. Yeah, this exit one is also useful. So if you want to exit from the codex, you can just type here exit. And when you click enter, we have seen this in the VS Code terminal also. But if you want to exit, you can just write here exit and it will make you out from your Codex CLI. And you can start it again by using the codex again here and skip, and our codex will start again. Now let's look at one of the most important command, which is a /init. So when you type /init command, you can read the description what it says. It says that it will create an agents.md file with instruction for codex. But now what is agents.md file? We have not discussed about this anywhere in our project. And it's very important file in Codex, but we will not discuss about this agents.md file for now because I want to create a separate section for agents.md file. So when we start building a project using the Codex CLI, they will discuss about the agents.md file in detail. But just for now, you just understand that when you use the /init command, it will create agents.md file with some scaffold content inside it. Scaffold basically means a by default content, some rules available there. What are all those rules that we'll discuss about this, and all those rules will be available in the form of markdown. So we'll see how all those things are actually work when we build our own project, and there we'll create our own agents.md file. So these are all the / commands. You can use any one of them based on your requirement, and you can explore also by using the / command. Now the another one you can use here is a /logout. So if you want to log in with some another thing, let's say you want to go with the API key now, or maybe you want to connect with a different device, you can use a /logout here. And when I say /logout and click enter, it will log out me from my current ChatGPT account. And now if I want to see it again, whether we have logged out or not, so I can just write here codex, and when I click enter, let's skip for now again. And again, it will ask me for authentication. Again, I can go with the ChatGPT or device code or provide my own API key to authenticate again with my Codex CLI. So these are all the / command. Explore by yourself also. Just type the / here and see all the list of the codex, and based on your requirement, you can use any one of them. Now imagine you have set up a CI pipeline, and every time it gets triggered, your codex start working inside it. It will review the changes, it will apply the fixes, and it will push them all back automatically. Now this only possible through Codex CLI because you know that CI pipeline only works with commands, not with the user interfaces. Now there's one command which is provided by Codex which lets you integrate all these things inside your CI pipeline. And not only in the CI pipeline, but all the environment which only works in headless and non-interactive mode. So if you want to see that command, let's open the terminal, and here let me first call my Codex to use it. So I'll just write here Codex. Let's skip, and now we are inside the codex. So if you want to use that command to execute it automatically, I can use the command which is codex then exec. This is the exec command which we need to use to automate our task. Now we can use the alias also. So if we don't want to write exec, we can write e also like this. But let's go with the exec for now. And here you can give the task. Now I want to show you how you can give actually these tasks inside of CI pipeline and how it will actually work. So to make it sure, we need to first create a folder, and then here we'll create a CI pipeline with the GitHub actions, and there we'll see how this codex exec actually works inside that. So let's create a folder inside the desktop. Let's say we call a folder which is review. And now we'll open this folder inside our VS Code. Now we know that if we want to create a GitHub action for the CI pipeline, we have to first create a .github folder, and inside that we need to create a workflow. So we'll do the same here. I'll just create a folder which is .github, and inside this I'll create one more folder with the name workflows, and inside this we need to create our YML file where we write all the commands for executing. Let's say we write a code review.yml. Now this is our file. Now let me zoom in a little bit. Now I've already created the entire commands. I'll just paste it here and explain you how we are actually injecting our codex exec command inside this. So I'll just paste it here. Now if you look at here, this is just the normal GitHub action commands where we have a name and we are writing the on command which decide that when this CI pipeline should get triggers, and then we are writing our jobs. Now if you notice here with the name run codex review, now this is the job that we have decided in our codex YML to run, and inside this we have certain environment variables. Now this is important, otherwise if you do not decide your OpenAI API key, then it will not get to know that whether you are authenticated user or not. So you need to apply your OpenAI key. Now if you notice here, we have used the OpenAI key using the secret variable. Now how it will get all these secret variable? It will get from the GitHub actions. I'll show you in one of my repo where I have do this. So let me open the Chrome, and here this is my repo, and in this repo if you go to the settings, then here if you go to the secret and variable options, then go to the actions, you can see this is the place where you have to define all your secret variables. I've already defined some of the secret variable for this repo, which is AWS access key and ID. So here if you define your OpenAI API key, then the next time when that CI pipeline gets triggers, it will fetch that OpenAI key from the secret variables. Now this is a best practice because you should not define your secret variables like OpenAI key or any other variable directly in your GitHub action commands, which has a chance for expose. So always keep them inside your GitHub actions, and then you can fetch it from there. And then we have this run command, which basically run our codex exec command. And inside this we have given the task which it should run. We have right here like review the changes in this PR for bugs and rest of the things. So in this way you can inject codex inside your CI pipeline or anywhere where only commands work. Now when you define this, it will run this task for one time and provide you the output in the standard output format and then finish the task. There's no human interaction required because everything is running in the headless mode, non-interactive mode. Now although we can run this command in our codex terminal also, but that is not the way you should write it. You should always write this codex exec command where only we are working with the command line. But let me show you for the demo. So if you open the terminal here, and here if we run our codex, do you trust the content? Yes, continue. And here if I write the command which is codex exec, and then let's say if I give a task, run test and fix any issue in this file, and I click enter, it will work for sure here. But as I told you before, we should not use it like this here. I think it will take more time because we run it directly in our home directory, and inside that home directory there are multiple folders and file available. So it will scan all those files and find the bugs inside this. So we can terminate it for now, but you get the point that we can use this command to automate our task in the headless mode. So this is the way you can run codex in the automation mode. Now we have reached at the point where we are going to create our own full stack application, from backend to frontend to integrating to our database and also deploying it on the hosting platform. And while we are doing all those things, we'll understand all the important concepts of Codex there itself. Now you already know that whenever we want to deploy our project, we need to at least keep a track of all the commits in the code in a version control system, maybe a GitHub or a Bitbucket. So we'll also do the same thing. If we want to deploy our project, we need to first have it in the GitHub. So what we will do, we'll create a project. Basically, we are going to build a URL shortener website, which is a very basic website, but there we'll understand how all the concepts of Codex actually work. So we'll start from there. We'll push our code on the GitHub, and also we are not only going to push the code by ourselves by writing all the git command. Instead, we'll take the help of Codex. Codex will only do all the things. It will create a repo for us. It will deploy it on the Vercel, or also it will integrate the database. It will open up your request. It will also create a new branch, and also it will merge it to the main. So all the things will be managed by the GitHub. But we need to make sure one thing. If it is managed by the GitHub, then it should get access to our GitHub account also. So the first thing is that we need to connect our GitHub account with a Codex so that it can create a repo and do the rest of the things there. So we need two things to connect it to our GitHub account. The first thing is that, of course, Git. So what we can do, we'll go here in the website and we'll search here Git install, and from here we'll install it. And I am assuming that you might have this in your system, because if you have used Git or GitHub before, this Git command is already there, because through this only you are able to write all the Git commands. So you can install the Git command based on your operating system, whether you are a Windows or Ubuntu or Mac OS, Or if you want to go with the homebrew method also, that also you are going to do there. Now, once you install this, the next thing is that you need a GH, which basically means a GitHub CLI. Through that only it will going to authenticate with your GitHub account and do the rest of operations. So just go here again and search here git GH install, and here you can just go this website maybe, yeah, this one itself, and here you will get the command which is a brew install GH. So install these two things, and after installing it, open the terminal and verify whether you have installed it or not. So just write here git -- version. You are able to see the version of Git. That means it is installed. Same you can run for the GH also. So I'll just write GH version, and we got the version of the GH also. So now after this, we need to connect our GitHub account through Codex. So the thing is that we need to use a command which is a gh auth login. Because GH is a CLI, which basically means a GitHub CLI. So we are able to run this command. So I'll just write here gh auth login. And when you enter this command, it will ask you what you want to actually authenticate, your GitHub account or something else. I'll say github.com. I'll click on this. Then it will ask which protocol do you actually want to use, HTTPS or SSH. So you can go with the HTTPS because it's a very simple one. So just click on this and it will ask authenticate Git with your GitHub credential. Just say why and then click enter. Then it will ask how you actually want to log in, web browser or you want to paste an authentication token. So click on with browser, and then it says that copy this code because this is the code we are going to use in our browser when we want to authenticate with the GitHub account. So just copy this, and once you confirm that I have copied it, then click on the enter. It will redirect you to the browser. Here it will ask your account, that through which account you actually want to continue with the GitHub. So just click on continue and then paste the code which we have copied from the terminal and then click on continue. And it will ask that if you want to continue, then what are the things you want to grant it. Maybe create a Git repo, read an organization team membership, and if you have connected with other organization also, then you want to give access to that organization also or not. You can just enable and disable all this thing from there. Then once you're comfortable with this thing, then click on authorize GitHub and it will say you have authenticated. Now go back to the terminal, and here if you notice it says that logged in Naman Paria, which is my GitHub account, and it also said that you were already logged in because I've tried this before also. Now once we connect our GitHub account, the next step is creating a project. So as I told you before that we are going to build a URL shortener website. So first thing is that we need a folder. So either you can say to Codex that create a folder to that particular path, or you can just manually create it and then open Codex inside that folder. So I'll prefer the manual way here. So just open the Finder, or if you are in the Windows, then open the File Explorer and then decide where you want to create a folder. In my case, I want to go with the desktop. So I'll go here and then click on new folder, and then I'll write the name of my folder, which will be the link forge, which basically means a URL shortener. So I'll just write here link forge. And when I click enter, I have created my folder. Now I'll open this folder inside the VS Code, and there we'll use the Codex inside this folder. So just click right, quick actions, open VS Code. Okay. So now we are inside of a VS Code with this particular folder. Just open the terminal and now start running the Codex here. We can use this terminal, as I told you before, that either you can use the VS Code terminal or your computer terminal. Both are similar, just only the platform change. So I'll just write here, first I need to verify whether I'm in the link forge folder or not. Although I am, but just for the surety, I'll just write here pwd, and it says that you are in the users Naman Paharia desktop link forge. Okay. Now I want to run the ls command also, just to show that right now this project folder is completely empty. So as you can see here now. So just write the command which is Codex, and it says yes, continue, because this is the empty folder. So it just asks whether you want to trust this folder or not. So I'll just click on yes, continue, and now our Codex is started in our VS Code terminal. So what's the first thing we need to do? First thing is that we need to create at least one file to create a GitHub repo, because GitHub repo can't be empty. So at least one file is needed. So I'll maybe create a simple readme.md file, and then I'll just commit that file and create my GitHub repo. So all those things we are going to do with the Codex. So I'll just say create a readme file. I'll say readme.md file for this project, which is built with Express.js and React.js. I just give the little context that what tech stack we are going to use in this project, so that it at least contains some relevant information about these projects inside my readme.md file. Just create enter. It will start creating it. We can see it in the real time also, that whether the file has been created or not. As you can see, it says the workspace is empty and it has created the readme file, and this is the content it contains inside it. I can open the readme file here also, and we can see what are the things it contains. So it says that the Link4j is a full stack web application built with Express.js on the backend and the React.js on the front end. This is able to write here because I have given the context and the tech stack, project structure, and the feature. Okay. Now the next step is we need to commit this file. So I'll just simply say create an initial commit, or maybe I just say that create my public GitHub repo. So it will automatically make sure that, okay, if you want to create a repo, it should first have a file with a commit message. So it will automatically create a commit message, push our file, and then create a public repo. So I'll just simply write here, create a GitHub, or I'll say create a public GitHub repo. Then click enter. It will first look in our GitHub account that whether we are authenticated or not. And once it confirms, it will then look at whether the same name GitHub repo is available or not in the GitHub. If it is available, it may use a different name, or maybe it will tell us that this name is already available. You should choose a different name. By the way, we have not given the name of the repo. It will automatically fetch the name based on the project we have given. It will now ask, do you want to run the Git init? Yes, we want to run. So first it will initialize the Git. As I told you before, it will automatically understand that if we want to create a Git repo, clear steps are required. Like we need to create a Git init, commit, and then push GitHub, and then only our repo will available. Again, do you want to create a branch with the main? I'll say yes, proceed. Although I can give it the permission for full access, so this thing will not ask, it will automatically create by itself. Then it says, do you want to stage the file and commit it with the message with the initial commit? I'll say of course, yes. So all the steps it is following to create a my GitHub repo. And git repo create Link4j, I'll say yes, proceed. And it says Link4j already exists on a GitHub account, so I'm looking up its URL and then I'll connect the local repo so that existing public repository instead of creating a duplicate. Okay, so it has said that this repo is already available. I have this same repo in my GitHub account, that's why it says this. No worries, just click on yes, proceed and see what it does. Would you like to run the following command? Connect the local repository to the existing public repository and push the initial commit. I'll say something different. I don't want to make sure it should be available inside my existing public repository. It should be a completely new. So I'll say no, and I'll say something different to the codex. I'll say create a public GitHub repo with the name URL shortener. Okay, now I'm sure that this name is not available in my GitHub repository, so it will definitely create a new repo now. Commit is already done if I'm not wrong. Yeah, initial commit is there. I'll say yes, proceed now. And now it says that it has created our repo with the name URL shortener. We can click on this URL to verify whether the repo is created or not. So just click here and it is open the browser and we can see this. It is inside my GitHub account with the name URL shortener, and it has also committed my first file, which is readme.md with the message initial commit, and this is the exact content it contains inside it. So as you can see, all the things are done with the Codex CLI itself. We have not created the repo by ourselves by writing all the git commands. We just tell the Codex that create a GitHub repo, and it automatically create a message. It asks for the approval because you have given the permission for ask approval. But if you feel like that, it will have it smart enough and create the repo by itself with a good commit message and all the relevant things, then you can go with the full access permission also. Although we'll use the full access permission only later because we don't want to give permission every time. I believe that it will create everything perfect, and although we are here for the monitor, so in monitor in between if something goes wrong. So we have now done this part where we have connect our GitHub account, create a public repo, and also commit our first file, which is readme.md. Now, whenever we use Codex inside our project, we want it to follow some instruction and rules before taking any action inside my project. Now, let's say if I want that whenever it generates any code for me, it should also run npm run test command so that it can verify whatever the code it has generated. We can also make a command or the instruction where I will say that before generating the code, you should always take a pull request so that it will get the latest code. I can give another instruction also. Let's say I want that whenever you are creating a variable name or the file name, always follow some naming convention. In short, I just want to give some instruction and guidance to the Codex so that it can work inside my project based on those guidance. Now you can think it in this way also. Let's say when a junior developer gets hired in the company, how manager and the senior developer explain him everything. Guide him with all the instructions like what tech stack we are working on, how the deployment actually goes on, and how we communicate on the day-to-day basis, so that when this junior developer start working, it follow all the guidance and the instruction and work based on that. Same like that, whenever we want to guide Codex that how it should work inside my project, we need to create a file and there we'll define all the instruction. So as you can see here, right now we have a readme.md file. And what's the role of the readme.md file? to guide humans that what this repo actually contains. Whenever you open any GitHub repository, you always read the readme.md file to know what this repo actually contained. What are the description of the repo? What tech stack actually use? What are the commands I need to follow to make this repo available on my system and run it locally? Same like that, we need to create an AGENTS.md file where we write all the instruction for the codex to follow inside my project. Now just like this, in Claude Code also, if you know about the Claude Code and have used it before, in Claude Code we also create a instruction file, but the name of that file is Claude.md. So every agent has their own file name, but the purpose remains the same, which is giving the instruction and the guidance which you want it should work inside your project. So we'll create one file here inside my link forge. Now if you remember that I have discussed about one slash command in the slash video where we have talked about slash init command. And you know that what does that slash init command actually do? It create an scaffold agents.md file, which basically means creating an agent.md file with some default instruction. So if I type that command, will it create my agents.md file inside my project? Of course it will create. So let's try it out. So if I type here slash init and then when I say enter, it will create an agents.md file. It will read my readme.md file also to get the context that what this repo actually contain. And based on that, it will write some by default instruction and I'll look at those instructions. If I'm happy with that, I can go with that, or if I want to customize, I can customize based on my requirement. So it has created agents.md file. I don't have to write the name by myself. I just need to use the command slash init and it has automatically created agents.md file. So just open it and this is how it looks like. Everything in the markdown format because we are using the extension with MD format. Now as you can see, it says the repository guidelines, which we also discussed, instruction. It says the project structure and the module organization. It needs a server for the backend Express API, clients for the React app, test for the test.js and assets. And it also writes some useful command, npm install, run dev, test, run build, and the coding style, what type of style it should follow inside my project when it takes or generate any code. And also we have defined some tasks like test command, initial commit, .env file. So all those things are available here. But if you want to customize it based on your requirement, you can just change this entire thing and put your own content and your instruction and then you can push it on your GitHub. So we'll do the same thing. We'll not follow this by default instruction, although it's relevant because it has created based on my project, but I want to use something different. So I'll just select all those things and cut now and paste my content. So this is what I want inside my instruction file. You can read this, you can understand what are the things available here. I've already created it before. So I know what are the things available here and it's relevant. So just read it out. Now I'll save this and I'll say now create a commit. It will automatically create my commit, push it on the GitHub and then we'll verify whether it is pushed or not. So I'll just write here create a commit, or I'll just say push it on GitHub. Okay, it says I'm checking the local diff. It's asking for my permission. I'll say yes. It has pushed. We can verify the commit also. And it says that edit contributor guide. So it's a relevant commit. It has generated by itself based on the content which we are going to push. And we can verify whether this is done or not. So just go to the browser and here when we refresh, we can see the commit as well as our file, which is agents.md file. And this is the commit add contributor guide and it has done now only. Just open this file to verify whether it contains the same content or not. And it contains. So okay. So this is what we want to discuss about agents.md file, which basically means creating our own instruction and guidance which our codex use inside our project. Now it's time to create a functionality in our project by creating the backend files and the frontend files and also the test cases. Now I can give a command to the codex to create all those things for me, and there are multiple ways to use it. So let's say if I want to create my backend and the frontend, I'll just write all those things in one command to the codex and it will generate for me. But the thing is that if I give the entire command to codex to generate my backend and frontend at one go, then it will for sure generate, but it will take a lot more time because it needs to first generate the entire backend code. It needs to run the test cases to make sure that everything working, and then it will move to the front-end code and then it will generate that. So I have to wait for entire thing. Now I can use the another option also. Maybe I can give a codex a command where I'll say first create the backend code and I'll just say enter. It will create and give me the backend code. Then I'll switch to the next one, which is creating a front-end code. And when it generates the front-end code for me, then I'll say run the test case to verify whatever you have created is correct or not. So in this way, I have divided my task into subtasks and then give it one by one. But there's still a catch. I have to wait for the model to make sure that whether the first task is completed or not, and then only I'm able to give the second task. Now what if I can say that we can run all these tasks parallelly at once? I just say the codex, then run all these tasks at once, and I can verify whether these tasks are running simultaneously or not. Now basically there's a concept in Codex which is subagents. And now the name itself says subagent, which basically means creating multiple agents for your task. So suppose if I want to create multiple agents, one for the backend, one for the frontend, and one for running the test case, I can do this in my Codex. Now this is very useful because if you have a large complex task and you don't want to make only one thread, or I can say the one agent to do that entire task, you can divide it into the multiple tasks. So your main agent can only focuses on creating a planning for you, relevant all the informations, creating a plan for you, gathering all the relevant information, and whatever the important things are required. So how the flow actually goes on, let's discuss on the drawing board. If we have as a developer, we basically have a main agent, which is the entry point, which is right now we are using, where we give all the commands to the codex, or I can say that a task. Now, through the main agent, we give a command to the codex that create sub-agent for this particular task. I'll define the task that what should agent do for this particular task. And let's say I've given the task that one agent should do search code, another one should write a code, and the next one should run the test case. And I'll say also once these all tasks get executed, summarize all those tasks, do a merge result, and then give me the final output. So who will responsible for my final output? Of course my main agent, because that takes care of all the agent's work. It will look and monitor all the things whether they have completed or not, and once they complete it, it will merge the result and give me the final output. This is how agents actually work. So let's go to the VS Code and create a sub-agent now. Now one thing I also want to share that whenever you are creating a sub-agent in Codex, we have to create it explicitly. Means we have to manually call those sub-agents and tell it that use the sub-agent for this particular task. But in other agents, like if you talk about the Claude code, they automatically create the sub-agent based on the task you have given. So if it monitor that your task requires a long context, it is a complex task, and it must be divided into the sub-agent, it will automatically divide even though you didn't tell it to do. But in Codex, you have to manually manage it. So I'll just write my prompt, which I have already created. I'll just paste it, and this is my prompt. I'll just say build a URL shortener project using sub-agent. Split the work into independent tasks. One sub-agent should create the front end, another should build the backend, and another should prepare test and documentation. After they finish, integrate everything. So this is my prompt where I assign a task to the Codex and tell it to create sub-agents for this task, and at last summarize my result. So let's see how well it will generate my code with the sub-agent. So let's say enter, and it will look at my prompt and then delegate my task to the sub-agent. So as you can see here, it has spawned 3 sub-agents. One is for the backend, one is for the front end, and one is for the test and documentation. And these are the 3 agents running. So these are the 3 agents which are running parallelly. While they build, I'm staying out of their file scope, so integrating stays clean and conflict free. So this is our main agent's work. But these 3 agents are working for backend, frontend, and the test case. Let's wait for the result which are running parallelly. Although we can verify the result also, we can monitor those sub-agent work in between. If you want to see what this backend sub-agent do currently, so I can just able to do that with a command. I'll tell this command, let's say if I just type a slash agent. As you can see here, when I say slash agent, it says switch the active agent thread. As you know, right now we are running 3 sub-agent. That means when I write this command and click enter, if you can see these are the agent. Now if you notice the name, it says the Pascal, Tesla, and Aristotle. I don't know how to pronounce it because these are very funky and the weird name. Now these names are created by the Codex itself. We don't have any permission to define how the names of the subagent should be. When you assign a task to the Codex, it will automatically assign some funky name to it, which you can later identify. Okay, Pascal is for this one, Tesla for this one, and the third one is for this one. So if I want to switch between any one of the tasks and monitor how the work's going on there, I can just do up and arrow key, and here I can switch between them. Okay, it asked me for one permission. First, let me click yes, approved. And now let's say if I want to see the work of Tesla subagent, I just go here and click enter. And this is what going on in Tesla subagent. Okay, now if I want to monitor of someone else, I can again go to the slash agent command. And here, let's say go to the Pascal one now, click enter. And this is what going inside the Pascal. Okay, so in this way we can monitor the task of each subagent. And let's wait for it to complete the task and let's see how the work's going on there. So as you can see here, Till this point, my backend subagent has completed its work and my main agent has informed me that backend is confirmed. I am waiting on the frontend work next, and then I'll reconcile the root manifest and run the combine checks. So now it says that it's waiting for the Pascal, which is the name of my frontend subagent. So it again asks me for the approval. I'll say yes, proceed. I need to change this permission, but I'll change it later. I don't want to interrupt it in between. But later on, I will definitely give it to the full access. So every time I don't have to give it the approval. Okay, now it says that the Pascal completed. That means front-end implementation is complete and verified with the production build. As you can see the front-end folder here as well. So this is my front-end code and this is my back-end code. And now what is running? Only I think one thing is done. No, all the thing is done now. We can see here, it says all 3 work are finished. I'm inspecting the produced file and then I'll integrate the 2-part app into a core and repo layout so the root commands are consistent. Now it says that the backend test pass. I'm waiting for the front-end production build to finish and then I'll commit the integrated repo state. So basically it is running now test cases. Front-end and backend subagents work has done, even though test subagent work is also done, but it is doing a basic thing which we have also mentioned in the AGENTS.md file, which is running all the test command to make sure that all the code which is generated is correct or not. So now all the subagents work has done and it takes around 7 minutes 43 seconds to complete my entire backend and the front-end code. And I've also given the permission in between to push my code. So that's why we are able to see the commit here as well. So all the code of the backend and frontend is now available on our GitHub too. So now it's time to run this project and see how the functionalities and UI actually working. So I'll just say run the project. Although I can run it by myself also by running the command npm run dev. I think it has given me the command to run this project. It says that npm run test, npm run build, but I'll tell the codex to run it by yourself. So I'll say run the project. Okay, we have made the mistake in spelling. I just write here S instead of N, but it will understand. Okay, so project has been started. We can now verify by using the URL which is given for the front end. So I'll just copy this URL and here I'll paste the command. And this is how our project looks like. And to be honest, at first glance, it really surprised me. In terms of UI, functionality, I'm not sure. Let's verify whether it has also surprised me in the functionality or not. So what we can do, we can paste any URL here. Let's say this one URL only. I'll just copy it and paste it now. And let's say shorten. Okay, it has shortened my URL. It has said that this is the original one. This is a short link. It has also given me the timestamp that I have done it on this date with this time. I can just copy it and verify whether it's working or not. So yeah, this is how it has converted. When I click enter, it actually redirects me to the original URL. So perfect. Our functionalities are also working. It has also given me the information that in terms of stats that you have generated one, storage local only. So everything is running in the local, but later on we'll definitely push it on the hosting database and also deploy it on the production. So let's go back here. So now we have understand how we can invoke subagent and delegate the task for each subagent. But what if I want to use a subagent again for the same purpose? Let's say I want to use the same front-end agent. But am I able to use that again? Of course not, because that was a subagent created by the codex itself with a different name. So if I want to use the same agent again for the repetitive task, I can create my own custom subagent and then I can just tag or mention that subagent in my prompt, which will automatically invoke, and there I'll mention all the instruction. How to create a subagent? Now let's see. In this folder, which is your link forge in our case, here in the root, we'll create a folder with the name .codex. So we'll just write here .codex, and then inside this .codex, we'll create a subfolder with the name agents and then click enter. Now inside this agents folder, we basically create our own custom subagent. So I'll just go inside my agents and create a file. And let's say I want to create an agent for the reviewer, which will review all the files of my code. So I'll just create a random just to show how custom subagents actually work. So I'll just write here reviewer.toml. Now basically whenever we are creating a subagent, custom subagent, we have to use the extension name toml so that we can write all the configuration inside there. So let's save this and now reduce the size of the terminal and increase the size of the file. Now in this reviewer.toml file, what are the things we need to mention? The first thing is required name of the agent. Although we have given the name in the file, but we need to mention inside the file also, so that whenever we want to invoke that file or invoke that subagent, we can invoke it by its name. So I'll just write here name and I'll say the name of this subagent is reviewer. And once we define the name, the next thing is defining the description, which will let the codex know what is this subagent for. So I'll just write a description and here I'll say review my files in this project and report me any potential bug. Now the next thing is require a developer instruction. Basically, you define all the instruction which is required for this subagent. We have created only the description which tell what this subagent for, but what it actually do, you have to define it inside a developer instruction. So I'll just write here developer instructions, and now here I'll basically use a 3 quote because I want to write everything inside a multi-line. So I'll just use here 3 quote and I'll close it with the 3 quote again. And inside these quotes, I'll write my all the developer instructions. So this is my developer instruction where I have write the review code like an honor, prioritize correctness, security, behavior, regression, and missing test coverage, and rest of the things. Now we can mention another thing also. Right now we have name, description, and the developer instruction, which are required field. So if I want to show you it on the subagent documentation also, you can see here, these are the required field which we have mentioned in our file also. Name, description, and developer instruction. But we can mention other thing also. For example, you want to mention that which model this subagent should use. Maybe you want to use a custom model for this one. So you can just write here model. Let's say this subagent should use the model GPT 5.5 with a medium effort. So I'll just say GPT 5.5 and make sure it is inside a double inverted comma because we are in the YAML file. So every value should be inside a double inverted comma. Now I can define the model reasoning effort also. Model reasoning effort. And here I'll say it should run on medium. So in this way, this particular agent will run with this custom model. Although I can define a sandbox property also. If you remember, we have discussed about this in the safety lecture also. Basically the sandbox, if I just want to repeat it again, it decides all the rules and policies that how it should run inside that project and how much permission you want to give to the codex inside that project. If I write here sandbox mode and here if I say read only. Now in this way what I'm doing, when I say a sandbox mode should be read only, it will only able to read my files outside of this project but not able to access it and even not able to do any edit there. Because right now it is running in the read only. But if you want to give it a permission to write those files, do some edit, then you can change it from read only to write also. So in this way you can define a particular policies and rule for this particular subagent, and based on that it will ask for permission for you. Now let's test whether this subagent is actually working or not in our codex. So just save this file. And here, first thing I want to verify whether this subagent is available or not. So I'll just say, is there any subagent, or I'll say just agent because at the end it is an agent only. Is there any agent available in my folder? And it says yes. There's an agents.md file in this folder, but this is not we are asking. I'm asking about there's also agents directly in the repo metadata, but the main repo level agent guide is agents.md file. Okay, so I think it just misunderstood our command. Basically, to understand about the agents.md file, not the subagent. So I'll just write here subagent instead of agent now. So just use the upper arrow key for the history prompt. And here instead of agent, I'll use here subagent. So I just basically love this also feature in the CLI command. You can just move from different prompt to prompt because everything is in the CLI. So you have a history of every prompt. So I'll just write here subagent. And I'll say enter now. Okay, it says it has subagent. If you mean can this workspace use subagent, then it says yes, I was able to spawn subagent for the task. If you mean is the subagent config file. So I think it is not able to catch my file which is available in my folder for the agent because I think we are running in the same session. So I think I need to first exit from the codex and then rerun it again to make sure whether it is able to get the latest file of my folder or not. So I'll just write a /exit and here I'll clear first. And now again I'll run the codex. And now let's ask it again. So if I say, is there any subagent available in my folder? When I say enter, let's increase the size of the terminal also. And now it is checking. And now you can say it has said that I found a codex/agents.txt. So I'm reading its content now to confirm what subagents are actually defined. And it has now able to get our subagent, which is reviewer.toml file. So the issue is that we are running the same session, that's why it is not able to get the file which we have created. But now when we rerun it again, it is able to find the file in our folder. So it says, yes, in this workspace, I found one subagent, definition name reviewer, purpose review files in this project and the report potential bug. This is the description which we have defined in our file. And mode read only. This is a sandbox property. So this is the only subagent to use here. Now if I want to use this custom subagent, I can just write the command, just a normal English command. I'll just say use reviewer subagent to review my files. And now when I say enter, it will look at my folder, use my reviewer toml file and whatever the instruction I have given there, based on that, it will run my subagent. It says I'm locating the available subagent tooling, and then I'll run the reviewer agent against the repository. Searching the web, spawn this GPT 5.5 medium. As you can see here, we have defined the model also. That's why it is using the custom model, which is a GPT 5.5 medium, because this is the model with the reasoning effort we have defined inside this subagent. So the reviewer is running. I'll wait for this and finding and then summarize the result. So as you can see here, it has completed the reviewer subagent, and it says the reviewer subagent completed a review and findings. These are the findings it does. It says that unbounded in-memory storage, front-end history loading, back-end test. So whatever the review it has done, based on that, it has given us the result. Okay, so this is what our review subagent actually do, and this is how you can actually invoke in your prompt. So this is all about the subagent. If I want to recap it once again, you want to keep the main agent only for the relevant information, then you can delegate your task into the subagent. Now there are two ways of using the subagent. First way, you can use it directly from the prompt. You can invoke subagent how many you want. And the second way, you can create a custom subagent if you feel like that you want to use that subagent in future also. So that's all about subagents. Now the next concept that we are going to understand is about skills. And this feature of Codex will definitely help you to save a lot of your time. Because whenever you are working with a repetitive task, you have to define everything to the Codex again and again in your prompt. For example, suppose you have created one feature using Codex, and now if you want to create a similar feature again sometime in future, you have to explain everything to the Codex once again in the prompt. You have to explain so that it makes sure that it follows the same pattern and created the task or the feature similar like to the previous one. So this is what you have to do every time whenever you want to create or work with the same task or the same feature. Now how does the skills help here? See, whenever you are working with a repeated task, instead of writing all the things every time in the prompt, you can create a skill for that particular task and define all the necessary instruction only at once in that skill file. And later on, whenever you want to work with the same task, you can just call that skill where you define all the instruction. Just like we have imported our custom subagent file, if you have remembered in the previous lecture, where we have created our own custom file, and every time we want to use that, we just call that custom agent in our prompt. Same like that, if you want to work with the same task, so instead of explaining every time in your prompt, you can call your custom skill where you have defined everything. So, in our project, right now you can see we have our backend code. So if I open src folder, we have our different files. If you go to the server.js, this is where our server is running. If you go to the services, this is the services. And if you go to the routes, these are all the routes, URL routes and the health routes. So if I open the URL route, let me reduce the size of the terminal for now. And here if you look at here, we have only two routes, which is get route as well as post route. Perfect. But what if I want to create one more route, which is a delete route? So if I want to create a delete route, I have to explain everything to the Codex just to make sure that the next route, which is a delete route, it will create exactly like the same it has created my get and post route. But instead of explaining it in my prompt, I can create a skill for that route, and next time I just call that skill and it will create a delete route with the same pattern the way it has created my get and post route. But why I'm creating a skill only for the delete route? See, I'm creating here because this is not the only route I want in my project. Let's say in future I want to create a more route. Let's say one for update route, or maybe I want to create a more get route or the post route. So will I explain everything again to the prompt? Of course not. I'll use that skill where I've already defined the pattern, how my API or the route should be created. And based on that, my every route will get created by the Codex. So now to create a skill, just like we have created a custom agent inside agents folder, same we have to create our skills. So inside our .codex folder, we have an agent folder. And inside this agent folder, we have to create one more folder, which is skills. And now inside this skills folder, we have to define the name of our skill. So in my case, I want to create a skill for the API endpoint. So I'll just write here API/endpoint. So this is the name of my skill. And after this, I have to create one file. Although this API/endpoint is a name of my skill folder, so inside this only we have our main file, our skill file. So I'll just create this one, and now inside this, I'll write the name, which is skill.md, and now I can click enter. So Basically, whenever you want to create any skills inside your folder, you have to follow the same pattern. You have to go inside .codex folder, then you have to create a skills folder. Inside that, you have to write the name of your skill in the form of folder, in our case, which is API endpoint, and then you have to define the name, which is skill.md. So this name will remain same for every skill. Only the name, which is the skill name, you have to write here, which is different. Now, inside this skill.md file, what are the things we need to define? The first thing is that you need to define the name of the skill so that we can call it in our prompt. So I can just write a name and I'll give it a name which is a API endpoint. Same name, or I can use a custom name also. Doesn't matter that you have to use the same name which you have used in the folder also. But in our case, let it be same. The next thing you need to define a description. So I'll just write here, add a new express route in project or in this project following our convention. So these two things are required, which is a name and description, so that it can understand that we need to call this skill. Now, the syntax of writing the skill is not like that. Whenever you write a name and description, these two things should be available inside a front matter. So you have to write something like this. You have to mention 3 hyphens just like this, and you need to close this with the 3 hyphens again, just like this. So basically this 3 hyphen called as front matter, or we can call it as front load. And inside that we have to define the name and description. Now, as I told you before that we need to define the convention also. Just like we have defined the developer instruction inside our custom subagent, same like that in a skill file we have to define the steps or the convention that what this skill should actually do when we call this skill in our prompt. So I'll just write as steps, just a heading. It should follow the space and then I'll paste my skills. So these are the skill it should follow. I'll just say that add the route to src server.js and follow the existing response shape. So if I just want to show you that how the shape actually looks like of my API route, so we can go to the services here. It should be available in our controller, URL controller, and here we can see this. This is the way it created our API route. It has the error message as well as the status code for the success route. So if we follow the same pattern, we say that whenever you're creating a new route, make sure that you have a data on success and error on failure. And also matching the storage logic which is available in our store.js, and all the relevant instructions or the necessary conventions which I want it to follow inside this skill I have mentioned here. Now just save this file. Now if I want to use this, I can use just by say use, which is the name API endpoint skill, to create a delete route, and in this way it will use my API endpoint. But before writing this prompt, I want to first show or verify that whether this skill is available in our folder or not. So just remove this command for now. I want to first test it using the skill because we have this skills command. So let's see whether it is available using the skills command, or we need to manually write the prompt to ask whether this skill is available or not. So let's say skills, list skills, and it says these are the skills available. These are my plugins as well as skills. Whether my custom skill is available or not, I may type it by manually. I'll say API endpoint, and yes, this skill is available. We can see this. It says that inside the codex agent skills API endpoint skill is available. So we can use this skill. I'll just say use API/endpoint to create a delete route, and it has read my skill. As you can see, it says that explore read skill.md, and it has searched my skill. And it says that I found the skill, and now I'm reading the content that is available in that skill, and based on that, it will create my delete route. So this is very useful. You don't have to explain everything in the prompt. If you are working with a repetitive task, you can just create a skill once, and then you can just use that skill in your prompt. Now it says that the endpoint is implemented. I am running a test command, and this is what it has done. And now it has done with our task. It says that I have added the delete endpoint, and what are the things it has changed, and what is the behavior. And it has completed the entire task in 1 minute 16 seconds. And we can verify it URL controller also whether delete controller has been added or not. So yeah, we have now delete shortcode, and it follows the same pattern. Perfect. So this is what skills actually do. Now you can call this skills in 2 ways. Either you can call it explicitly just like we have called it right now, or you can call it implicitly, which means if you do not mention the name of the skill, then also it will understand whether this skill should be used in this task or not. So let's say if I just say that create a delete route. So what it will do, it will just match my task with my skills that are available in my folder, and it will look like whether is there any skill available in my folder which matches the task requirement, and if it is available, it will automatically inject that skill to that particular task, and based on the instructions I have given in that skill, it will use that to execute my task. And why it is possible? Because we have defined the description in our skill.md file. This description basically help Codex to know whether this skill is useful for that particular task or not. So yes, in this way you can use the skills, create your own skill whenever you feel like that you have a repetitive task. So till this point, we have learned about how we can create skills, how we can create subagents, and also how we can connect any external application through plugins. But now, what if you want to connect any application which is not available in plugin? Let's say your own application. Now, whenever you want to connect any custom application which is not a part of plugin, we basically use MCP, which stands for Model Context Protocol. So in the past, whenever any AI application wants to connect with any external application for the communication and for performing every action, they basically follow the standard way of connection, which is MCP, again Model Context Protocol. But now we have this plugin option and all, so we just click on one button and our MCP, or I can say that app, is able to connect with the Codex. So here we'll see how we can connect our own application or maybe some different application using MCP. But before that, I want to give you a short overview of MCP also, what it actually means and what the main purpose of it. So the main purpose you already understand, that it actually helps to connect with the external application. But MCP actually stands for Model Context Protocol. So here, model basically means a tool which we are currently using. Maybe it can be Codex, Claude Code, Copilot, or any tool through which we are able to communicate or connect with our external application. The second term, which is context. Now, what does it actually mean? Whenever we are using any model and want to connect with any external application, we want to give a resource or context. What are the things it needs to perform inside that application? So all those context is a part of model context itself. Now the third term, which is protocol. Now protocol basically means some set of rules and instructions which you define how it gets connected to that external application. So with this, let's see how we can connect it. Now if I want to tell you also that till this point we have already seen the MCP, although we have not discussed about it, but somehow we have seen it. For example, if you remember that when we install any new plugin, that under the hood that plugin or the application is actually behaving as an MCP. So for example, let me show you. In the Codex app, if you go to the plugin, you can see this. I have this Figma plugin which I have installed from here itself. Now if I show you that this Figma plugin is actually a part of MCP, so I can go to the new chat and here I'll use the slash command, which is /MCP, and when I click enter, it listed all my MCPs that are available inside my Codex. And you can see here Figma also listed under my MCP, although it's a plugin, because plugin is actually under the hood working as an MCP. MCP, the main role is to connect with an external application. So that's why Figma is available here and it is authenticated with OAuth, and we are able to use Figma through our Codex. Now let's say if I want to connect any another application, and for example, if you want to connect my Notion app, so what I can do, I can just go to the browser and search Notion MCP. And whatever the things it provides us to connect with that application, we will follow all those steps. So let's go to the browser and here we'll just type Notion MCP Server. And here it has already provided MCP, so I can just click on this one. It gives us overview. I want to connect, so I'll go with the connecting to Notion MCP. And here you can see it provides all the way to connect with MCP with different model. If you are using Claude Code, you can go with this one. Cursor for this, VS Code, Claude Desktop, Windsurf, ChatGPT, and this is for Codex. So if you want to use MCP of Notion, we basically needs to paste this command, which is MCP Server Notions, and this is the URL. Now this isn't URL. If you notice here, it follows HTTPS protocol because this is a remote access. So that's why we basically use this URL to connect this application. Now copy this. Once you copy this, you need to paste it inside your config.toml file. As you can see here, it also says that you need to paste inside your config.toml file. So if you paste this inside .codex/config.toml file, your all project and codex get access to that particular tool, or I can say that Notion app. But if you want that particular Notion app inside a particular project only, then you can just create a config.toml file inside that project directory, and there only you can mention this MCP server. So that project can only access that Notion app. So but we'll focus only in the global ones. We'll put this inside our config.toml file. So just open your Finder, and here inside your user folder, or I can say that home directory, just open the hidden files, and in this you can go to the .codex folder, and here we have config.toml file. Just open this, and here anywhere you can paste the MCP server. As you can see here, we have some MCP server also, which we have seen in the MCP list, which is a node, REPL, as well as this Figma is also added here. So now just add this. I'll just paste it here as well, like this. And now Notion URL is added with this command. Just save this. The next step is we need to authenticate it. If you remember, when we are adding the plugin of GitHub, we basically use the ghauth login command to authenticate with our GitHub application. Same like that, whenever you start using Notion for the first time, it will automatically prompt you to authenticate it with your Notion app. But you can also do this step before also, so that it can automatically start doing your task. So very simple, we can do in the VS Code itself. Just open the new terminal, and here we can see the step how we can authenticate. So go back to the browser, and here it can say that you can install using Codex MCP login Notion. So just copy this and paste it in your terminal. Now enter. It will authenticate us to the Notion app. It will redirect to the Notion browser. It says, do you want to authenticate? I say yeah, I recognize and trust this URL, and click continue. And it says authentication complete. When we go back to the VS Code, we are now successfully logged in with the Notion app. Now we can use this Notion app through our Codex. We just give a simple prompt like create a new page for this particular Notion app. It will able to create it. Let's try it out. So if I go just inside Codex terminal UI, and I'll skip the update for now. And here, let's say if I say create a page for MCP server nodes in Notion. Now this is just a normal natural language prompt I have given to Codex, and let's see whether it is able to authenticate with my Notion application and able to create my page there or not. So just click enter, and now it says I'll create a practical MCP server nodes, and it has called my Notion MCP server, and it says that it has created. Just open this, let's see how things work here. So let's click on this one, open, and we can see this. It has created inside my own Notion app with a proper structured manner in the table with examples. All things are mentioned here with just one prompt. And how this is possible? Because we have connected with MCP. So this is how you can connect any external application. Now, if you notice here, we have done this through config.toml file, but there are other ways also to connect with the MCP server. For example, you can create it with the user interface inside a Codex desktop app, or you want to go with the command, then you can go with the Codex CLI method also. So let's quickly see those two methods also. So go back here, and now suppose I want to connect a new application. So let's say if I want to connect this same application through Codex app, then what I can do, I just open my Codex, and here you can just go to the settings, or you can just even click on the from plugins here also, and then from here you can also click on the setting button. So just click here. Now if you notice here, in this we have these three MCPs right now. This Notion one also, which we have added right now, and this is from the plugins. So if I want to create a new plugin through Codex desktop app, I can just click on add server. Here you can just define the name of your server. In our case, I want to create a Notion. So I'll just write here Notion, although we have Notion server, but I just want to show you how you can create from the app itself. Now once you define the Notion, here you need to paste the URL. But right now if you notice, we have this two option, which is stdio and the streamable HTTP. Now what does it actually mean? See, stdio is basically used whenever you want to work with MCP in your local computer itself, where things will not get hosted, everything will remain inside your computer itself, in short, in local environment. But if you want to connect with the remote access like this Notion app, then you need to use streamable HTTP method. So just click on this option. Here you will find the URL option. Just paste the URL. So again, go back to the browser, copy this URL, this one itself. You don't need to copy the entire command, and paste this inside URL option. Now if you notice here, once you paste this, it asks for the another thing also, like barrier token, headers, and headers from environment variables. But right now you need to leave all these things empty, because if you remember, this Notion app actually follows OAuth connection, which basically means you don't have any token or the API key to put it here. You just use the URL and just click on save. It will automatically connect an MCP server. This barrier token and all things are required when you are actually having your own token. For example, if you have created your own Spring Boot application where you have JWT token and all, and you have configured MCP server for your application, at that time you have to configure those JWT token inside this barrier token. At that time it is only required. But I'll show you some application example also where this token is required. For example, if I want to connect the GitHub MCP, I'll just search here GitHub MCP server, and yeah, let's go to the first URL. And here, if you go to the readme file, we have an option for Codex. Just go on this one, and here you can see this. If you want to install or connect a GitHub MCP server, this is the prerequisite. You need to have a OpenAI Codex, which we are currently using, and the second thing you need a access token, which is a personal access token from GitHub. And once you have these two things, you can just write this in your config.toml file, as well as you have to config your barrier token environment variable. Now you don't have to put it directly inside your this config.toml file. Instead, you can just put it inside your .env file, which you can later ignore using .gitignore. And now if you want to know how you can create your own personal token, just click on this link. It will redirect you to this page. Here you can just define the token name and the description if you want to give for future reference, and then whether it should be public, all, or only select repository, and then you can click on generate token. In this way you can create a token which you can just put it here back. If you just go back, you can put that token here, and then you are able to connect GitHub MCP server as well. So in this way, these are two ways through which you can connect the MCP server. If I want to show you one more example, so I don't know how many of you know about this application, which is AcceleDraw. This application, which is basically used to create illustration or the diagram to explain the concept. So this application also have their own MCP server. So if you want to connect, just click on this AcceleDraw MCP, and here you'll get this MCP URL, which you can just copy and paste it in your MCP. And it also requires an API key. As you can see, it says create an AcceleDraw plus API key. So you basically need an AcceleDraw subscription, which is a plus. Then only you are able to create an API key. But I just want to show you that AcceleDraw also supports a API method. So here, if you want to install the API, you need to first use that API here. Then only you are able to use AcceleDraw MCP server. And after once you install AcceleDraw MCP, you can just skip the prompt. It will connect with the AcceleDraw app and able to draw whatever you have defined in your prompt. Now let's see the another way of also creating an MCP server. We have seen the Codex app as well as from the config.toml. But if you are working only with the Codex CLI, then you can just open a Codex CLI here as we are already opened it in our VS Code. Just write a command which is Codex MCP add. If you just go back to the browser and look at the GitHub one, you can see this. It also supports to install GitHub MCP through Codex CLI. Just write the command this one, Codex MCP add, and then the name of the MCP. In our case, it is GitHub, and then you use the flag which is --URL, and then paste the MCP URL, this one, and then you need to paste a token which is a barrier token in our case. So I just copy this command and paste it here, and I just replace my token with this one, and we are able to use the GitHub MCP. So this is all about MCP through which you can connect any external application in your Codex. Now imagine in your project you have a multiple branches, and you want to work all of your branches simultaneously. Well, you are able to work with them. There are hactics. The first one is that you need to switch the branch multiple times by using the command git checkout. This is also okay. But the another thing is that if you want to switch to the next branch, you need to make sure that your current branch code is committed. If you have not committed it and try to switch, you might have seen the code or error in your terminal which says you need to first commit the code or stash them before switching the branch. So these are the basic issues or the hactics you need to go through if you are working with multiple branches altogether. But what if I can say you can work with all branches simultaneously even though you have not committed the code in your current branch? Now this is going to be possible through Git Worktree. What does the Worktree actually mean, by the way? See, whenever you are working with Worktree, you are having multiple branches in each worktree, and every worktree you can run simultaneously and you can switch the branch between them. Now to make it more clear, let's go to the drawing board and understand with an example. Suppose I have one directory in my desktop folder which is a link.forge. I want to show you on the desktop also just to make you verify. So in desktop we have only one worktree which is link.forge, and inside that worktree we have three branches. Let's assume we have a three branch, which is a main, which is a by default branch. The two branches are feature1 Google Auth and the second branch is feature to GitHub auth. Now these two branches I have created because I want to work with these two branches simultaneously and look at the changes and all the things there. I am able to do this, but I need to do the checkout as I told you before. So how can I use a work tree here? When I use a work tree, this will what happen. Inside my desktop, I can create a multiple directories and each directory will have their own separate branch. So I have a link4j which is our main directory and it contains only one branch which is main. And then I have created one separate directory. Now that directory is in my root folder which is in the desktop, not inside my main directory folder. Remember this is very important. So we have created a link4j1 directory, or we can say that work tree, where it has only one branch which is feature1/Google Auth. And same I have created one more directory which is link4j2 and it contains feature2/GitHub auth. And now I can switch between these branches or directories without committing the code in one of the branch. So let's look at the practical way also. So go to the VS Code now and here I'll open the terminal first. And in this fresh terminal, I first see where I am right now. So I'll just do ls. I have these files inside this folder. I need to know the directory also. So I'll say pwd. Okay, so when I run the command pwd, we are inside our link4j folder. Now in this folder itself, we will create a different folder, or we can say that work tree. So to create a work tree, we have to write a git command manually, because in CLI, it's not kind of possible. There's no particular command is available in CLI. If I just want to show you, if you go here, let's say if I type a slash and want to show you, then there is no work tree command is available through which you can create a work tree through Codex CLI. So you have to create it manually with the git commands, and then you have to use Codex inside that particular directory. Although we'll look at the better way also, how you can create the directory through the user interface. But just now, if you are using it in the CLI, then you have to follow the git command. So way to create git work tree, you have to write a command git work tree, then add, and then you have to define a path. So I want my work tree inside my desktop folder, not inside my link4j. So I'll just use the path dot and slash. In this way, I'm making sure that I'm creating inside a desktop folder. And here I'll define the name of my work tree, whatever the name I want to give. So in my case, I just call it as link4j1. Inside this, I have to define the name of my branch. But 1 minute. Right now, I don't have any branch. How will I define the name here? You have two ways now here. Either you can create a branch first and then you can mention the name here, or you can create the branch simultaneously along with your work tree. So you can do one thing here. If you want to create, you don't have to use this command. This command is only useful when you have existing branch and you only want to mention it. But to create a new branch along with a new work tree, you have to write the command add -b, and then you have to mention the name of your new branch. So what I want now here. So for this project, I want to create a branch for the delete route, because if you remember, we have created a delete route with functionality, but that functionality is not used in the UI till now. So if I just want to show you on the UI, you can see this. Here we have a copy button, but the delete button is not available here. Although we have a backend code for this, but it is not used till now in the UI. So we'll go here and I'll create a new branch, and there I'll add that feature, and later on I will merge it to the main branch. So I'll just write the name of my branch. I want it for the delete UI. So I'll just say delete -or/UI, just like this. And then I'll define the name of my work tree. So as you know, we have to define the path. So I'll just say dot slash. So it will create inside my desktop. And now I'll say link4j1. And when I click enter, it says that preparing work tree and head is now at this particular commit hash ID, bind dev server to localhost. Okay, so we have created the work tree. Just verify whether this work tree available in my desktop or not. So open the Finder, and here, yes, this link4j is available, and when you open it, we have all the code that is available in my main branch, because we have created the new work tree from main branch itself. That's why all code is available here. So okay, so now we have created the work tree. Let's open this work tree in the new terminal, and there we'll see whether that branch is available or not. So I'll open a new terminal, and here first I'll see the directory. I'm inside the link4j. I need to go one directory back so that I can access my both directory. cd and ls, we have now two directory. So I'll now just say cd link4j1, enter, ls. We are now inside the link4j1. I can again try pwd just for verification, and we are inside the link4j1 directory. So now in the two different terminal, we are running two different branches. one terminal is running for our main branch and the another terminal is running our link-forge1 branch, or I can say that directory. If I want to verify whether we have two branches or not, so I can just run a command which is git branch, and it says we have two branch, delete UI and main. And you can see this delete UI is the current branch because in this terminal we are inside the link forge. But if I run the same command in the new terminal, and here if I go to the link forge, we are in the link forge right now, by the way. And here if I just do git branch, here it can say that you are in the main branch currently. So that's also confirm that every work tree has their own separate branch. Link forge 1 contains delete UI branch, and our link forge, which is the main directory, contains our main branch. Now I can work with them simultaneously. I can just use the terminal, I can run the different codecs inside them, and I can delegate my work, and then I can use it and push it on my GitHub without committing the branch code before switching it to the next branch. But as I told you before, we will see the better way also how we can create the work tree directly from the UI. Now, to create it from the UI, we need to use the Codex app so you can get a user interface. So let's go to the Codex app and see the better way of it. Now in this Codex app, we need to first use our project which we have created from the Codex CLI. So I'll just click on choose project, and this one I'll say new project. I want to create or upload, I'll say upload, and desktop, and I want my link forge. So I'll click on this, open. So we have now this link forge. I'll say create project, and my link forge folder is created. This is not the new project, it is a project which is already available in our system. So what we can do, we can create the work tree from here itself, which is a link forge 1. But one thing we need to do before that, if I want to create a same work tree name, I need to first remove it from here, from my finder. This one, I need to first remove this. So to remove this work tree, you can run the command which is a git worktree remove. So I can just write a git worktree remove, and then the name of the work tree which I want to remove. Although I can look at the list also before deleting if I don't know the name of the work tree and I want to know how many work trees are available in my folder or in my directory, I can just run a git worktree list and enter. It will source all the list of the work tree. Right now we have only two, link forge and the link forge 1. I want to delete the link forge 1. I again run the command which is git worktree remove link forge 1, and when I say enter, it has removed. Let's verify it on the finder also. So you can see this. Now we don't have link forge 1 directory. And even though we can verify by running the command again, which is a git worktree list, and it says unable to read current worktree directory, no such file or directory available. Let me verify in which branch are we right now. Okay, we are in the link forge, but that directory is not available. That's why it says. So okay, so I need to go one back, and now I'll go inside link forge, and here if I run the git worktree list again, it shows only one worktree directory, which is a link forge 1. So in this way you can delete the directory also if their work has been done. So now let's get the same work directory from the Codex app also. So go back here. Here we are in the link forge and this is running on the local. So if you want to create a work tree from a link forge which has a main branch, what you can do, you can start the new chat. Although we are in the new chat right now, but if your session is running, then you can click on the new chat to start the new chat, and then you need to make sure you are inside your link forge folder as we are right now. And after that you need to click on this local. Right now everything running in the local, so you need to click on this local, and here you can see we get an option which is a new work tree. So this is what I'm talking about. By just using the user interface you can create a new work tree. So I'll say create a new work tree. And here I can set the environment also, because when we are creating a new work tree, all the dependencies and the required environment variables are not available by default. You need to set it. But in Codex app, if you want to set it, you can click on this no environment section, because right now we don't have. You can go to the environment setting from here itself, or you can go from profile, settings, and here itself, environments. So these are the places where you can create an environment for your project. So next time when you create a work tree from that project, it will fetch all the necessary environment, the dependencies, all the API keys, whatever you have inserted in your env files, or the environment variables will get fetched to that work tree. Right now we don't have one, so it will not ask any permission for us. I'll say let it be no work tree. It will get a new work tree from the main branch, so let it be main only, and we are in the new work tree. So now what I'll do, I'll assign a task to the Codex to have a delete functionality on the UI based on my delete route. So I'll say create a delete button, or maybe I'll say add a delete functionality on UI also. And I have given it a full access permission, so it will not ask me for any approval. Now when I say enter, it says the work tree created, and this is my work tree. Right now we have not defined the branch. And when we are writing the Git Worktree, there we get an option to define the branch at the same time. But in this, the branch option will only come when you execute your task. So when we run this task, it says create a branch. I'll create it once this code has been done. It has read my all the code. It says that the backend already support delete API. It is able to read because we have given the permission of our existing folder. That's why it is able to access all the code. Maybe I can access the file from here itself if I go to the files. Yeah, we have all the files. This is our folder. We have seen all this file in the VS Code also. We can see it in the Codex App as well. Now it has completed the task. It has done the thing. I can review it before pushing my code. So I can just look at the changes. These are all the changes it has done. As I can see in the app.jsx, this is the handle deleted function. That means functionality has been added on UI. And it has made some changes in the styling also. And these are all the changes. Now I need to first create a branch for this particular work tree. So I'll just click on this create branch and here I'll define. It has already given the suggestion that which says add UI delete functionality. So this makes sense. I'll go with this particular branch name. Although if you notice that it has also created a prefix with the name Codex, which let us know that this particular work tree and the branch is created by the Codex. So I just say create and it will create a branch and we can see this is my branch name now. I can commit and push these changes. So I'll say yeah, commit and push. So it is generating the message for me, basically a commit message and pushing changes and the commit has been pushed. Let's verify it on the browser also. So here if you go and you can see it says a codex/add UI delete functionality had recent pushes 4 seconds ago. So if I refresh the page and main, we have now 2 branches. So from the Codex app also we can able to push the branch and we can able to see the code also. Now once this work has been done, I have done with this work tree. The next step is I need to deattach this work tree, which we are able to do from the git command also. We have seen the git worktree remove command through which we can remove the work tree. But in the Codex app, if you want to remove the work tree, you need to first shift your branch to your main directory, which is a link forge where your main branch is already available. So what we can do here, if you look at this work tree option, I'll just click on this. It says a local checkout. So when I click this on local checkout, it says where you want this branch should go. Right now it is in the link forge 1 directory, but from that directory it will shift to the link forge directory, which is my main directory and it also contains my main branch. So I'll say hand off this branch to the link forge. So I'll say hand off and now it has hand off my work. So if I go back here, you can see this. We are in my main branch. If you look at here, this is my main branch. This is my Codex add UI delete functionality and this is the delete UI. This is one I think we have created from the git command. That's why it shows, but this one doesn't exist, I know. So now we have this branch in our main directory along with our main branch. The next step is we need to merge this branch to the main branch code and then we need to delete this branch. This is the actual flow goes on with the GitHub. First step, if I want to repeat, we need to create a separate work tree from your main directory, from your main branch itself, and there you can do your work, and once your work has been done to that work tree, you deattach your branch from that work tree and push that branch code to your main directory where your main branch is also available. So as you can see here, we have now 2 branches. The next step is create a pull request for this branch and merge that code to the main branch. So we can have an option here which is a create pull request. I just simply click on this. It says create a PR. I say okay, create it. It will generate a meaningful message and it has created a PR for my branch which is add UI delete functionality. Let's go back here and here if you go to the pull request, we can see this. We have a branch name and it is open pull request. Now we can close it from ourselves manually from here itself, but I'll do it by Codex. So go to the Codex app. We don't have any user interface option to merge the branch. So I can just simply type a prompt here. I'll say merge a PR. Although practically we do not directly merge a branch, we need to first review the changes and after that all the changes or test cases pass, then only we merge the branch. But right now we believe that Codex has done everything perfect. So we can directly merge it without review. I'll say merge a PR and perfect. It has merged our PR to the main. We can verify it now the browser also. So just go here. And here when we go to the code, we can see this a commit message which says merge pull request. And even if you go back to the pull request, we can see this no one has opened now. We can see this our current pull request has been closed now. And even though it has also deleted my branch because that work has been done, we have merged it to the main now. So if you go to the code, we click on the main, we can see this now only 1 branch is available. Even though we click on the view all branches, only 1 branch is available. That delete functionality branch has been deleted because we have merged it to the main. So in this way, work tree actually work. you can work it simultaneously. You have a different branch in the different work tree. So without committing the code in your current branch, you can switch the branch and work simultaneously. So I hope this makes you understand how it actually works and how you can create your own work tree for your project. Now we are almost done with all the concepts of Codex. Only few things are left, which is integrating this into a production database and also deploying it on the hosting platform. So first we'll go with the integrating, where we'll integrate our database. So basically we are going to use Neon database, where we have a serverless Postgre and we'll host our database there. Now we can do this with the Codex itself. We have to just install a plugin, which is a Neon plugin. Now from the Codex CLI, you can't able to install a plugin for your requirement, but you can go to the ChatGPT account on the browser. Then there you can select a plugin which you want to use and you can install it. And if you have a Codex app, you can install from your Codex app itself. Just go to the plugins option. And here you can search the plugin based on a requirement and you can install it. So as you can see here, I have already installed the Neon Postgre because this is what we are going to use to integrate our database and host it there. So now, instead of doing all the things from Codex app, we'll go back to the Codex CLI in our VS Code and from there we'll integrate our database. So now we are already running with the Codex. Although before integrating to the database, I want to also show you that we have a delete functionality on the UI, which we have done in the previous lecture. So if I go back to the UI, you can see this, we have now delete button and it's working perfectly. If I just click on this delete, it will delete my URL. And if I paste it again and shorten, my URL is added, I can again delete it. So now let's use a plugin which is a NeonDB to integrate the database. So we can see that we are storing everything inside our in-memory. So we need to now shift it to the production database. So I can just call the plugin. I'll just say @neon, and this is my plugin. I'll say Neon Postgre, and here I'll say shift my in-memory database to Neon serverless Postgre. And now I just click enter. Now I'm able to use this Neon Postgre plugin because I have already installed it, as I told you before. But when you install it, it will first ask for the authentication. It's just not only about using the plugin by just installing it. You need to also connect it with the Codex. Just like we have done for the GitHub, where we authenticate our account. Same like that, you need to authenticate your Neon app so that it can run your and communicate with the application flawlessly. So we have already done this. That's why I'm able to use it. I'll just say enter. It will start running. It will create automatically project or the database inside my Neon dashboard, and where it will also create a table and all the records whatever we are going to do in our UI. So at the time it is doing changes in our code, we can just go to the Neon dashboard from UI and see how the things are going on there. So this is my Neon console. I'll just open it here. Okay. So these are the project. These are my previous project. We have Linkforge, Linkweb and testing. I have done this for practice purpose. As you can see the timeline also 2 days ago, it's not current one. So we'll have to wait before it create a new project, and then we are able to see that project here itself. So let's go to the VS Code back and see how it's working. Okay, it's need an approval. I'll say yes. Okay, so it has done with the task. It takes around 2 minutes 55 seconds to complete, and I think everything has been done. Let's see how the things goes on there. So if you go here and now if you refresh the page, yes, we are able to see our project which has created a minute ago. We can open this project. We can look at the tables also, whether it has created a one or not. And right now it says 0 tables in public schema. So let's see whether it has created or not. Create the short URL table in Neon. Okay, it says that you have to create it manually, but I don't want to do anything manual by myself. I'll go with the Codex itself. So I'll say create a table also. Create a table also. Okay, now it is creating a short URL table. Allow. Okay, so it has created the short URL. Let's go back here and refresh. Yes, now short URL table is available. We can go to the columns to see. Yeah, these are the columns available: code, original URL, short URL, and created ad. Perfect. So now table has been done. Database is also set, if I'm not wrong. If I go to the .env, yes, database URL, base URL, host, and port. Everything is set here. Perfect. Now it's time to test whether things are actually getting saved in our production database or not. So here we'll add one link now. Let's say this one. And when I say shorten, all that is still shows store is local only, but right now it's running a production database. Okay, so it has now converted. We have this original and the shorten link. Now let's see whether it is available in our database or not. So let's go here, and now if you refresh the table, yes, we are able to get the records in our table, and it is now remain here even though we'll close the server, because right now our database is available in hosted platform. Now If I delete it from here, let's say whether the database get deleted or not. So if I delete, and now if we go back here and if we refresh the table, okay, so data has been deleted successfully from here itself. So in this way, we have integrated our database only from the Codex CLI itself. You just need to install the plugin and authenticate it with your Neon dashboard, and you are ready to go to integrate your database from Codex CLI itself. Now only one last thing is left, which is deploying this application so that we can share it with anyone. So let's go to the Codex CLI back and see how we can do it from there itself. Now, just like we have integrated our database using the Neon Postgre plugin, same like that, we will use Vercel plugin. So as I told you before, that if you want to install a plugin, either go to the ChatGPT browser and from there you can install the plugin, or if you have a Codex app, from there also you can install the plugin. So I'll just show you how the plugin looks like. If you go here, you can see this is your Vercel plugin. Just install it. And now once you install, it will ask you for the authentication. Now it will not just like a Neon database where you just install the plugin and it will authenticate by just through app. If you want to authenticate your Vercel account, you need Vercel CLI so that it can authenticate your account using commands. So go to the browser and here search Vercel CLI and here just click on this. You will get this command, which is pnpm i-g Vercel. If you are using the npm version only, then only copy the command till here because we are not using the pnpm. So just copy this, paste it on the terminal and you are able to use Vercel CLI. So just open the terminal and here I have already installed it, so I just verify whether Vercel is available or not. And it says that Vercel CLI is available with the version 56.5.0. So once you install the Vercel CLI, then install the Vercel plugin also, and then it will authenticate you through Vercel CLI. Now, I just use the plugin now, which is Vercel. I'll say @Vercel and I'll say deploy this application and just say enter. At the time it is deploying, let's open the Vercel on the browser also. So this is my Vercel account and here we will be able to see our Vercel project, which is created by Codex. So let's go back here and see the progress. It has given me some error. It says I can't deploy this app to Vercel without changing the backend shape. Why? The front end is Vite React is deployable, the backend is standalone Express. I convert the backend to Vercel compatible. I deploy only the front end to Vercel and point it to the separately. I keep the current architecture and deploy it somewhere. I think the problem is that we have not committed all those codes, so that's why it's not able to fetch the latest one. So I need to first commit this. I'll say push my code on GitHub. Okay, it has now pushed. Let's go back to the Vercel command and now let's try to deploy again. Okay, still the problem, it says I convert the backend to Vercel serverless functions and deploy the full application. Okay, that's what I want. So I'll say deploy my full application. Okay, so it has done with the task. It has deployed my application on Vercel and this is the URL for the Vercel. But before opening this URL, I want to verify it on the UI also in Vercel dashboard. So here if you go to the deployment, yes, we can see this. This is a current deployment done by Vercel. It has done the multiple deployments 14 seconds, 12 seconds back. So it done the multiple iteration just to verify whether things work or not. And it has after multiple iteration created a URL for us and it's time to verify it. So just copy this and paste it on the browser. Okay, our application has opened. Let's try it out. Let's paste this, shorten. So it has shortened the URL. The thing is that it is still using a localhost URL when it converts into a short URL. So we need to change this so that it can actually deploy it on the Vercel live URL instead of a localhost. So I'll just say here in the prompt, it convert the URL, or I'll say shorten the URL with localhost instead of Vercel URL. Okay, so I think it has now fixed the issue. Let's go back to the UI. So let's paste the URL here, shorten, and it has now shortened it and now it is in the Vercel UI. So if I just click on this short link, it should redirect me, but it is not redirecting me. Let me do the console. What's the issue? If we click on this, okay, it opens in the new tab, but with the same one. Let me try the delete functionality also. Okay, delete is also not working. Let's inspect it. Okay, delete method not allowed. Okay, so this is the issue. Let's try it out with the Codex. I'll just copy this issue to Codex and say why it's not working. I'll also explain that when I click on shorten URL, it's not working. So now let's test it out, whether things are working or not. So here we already have these two recent links. So first we'll delete this and then we'll paste the new one. So delete this one and delete this one as well. And now let's paste a new one. I'll go with this GitHub, shorten. Okay, we have now this one. And if you paste the XLE draw one, we have now these two. And even though if you open this shorten URL, it works perfect. If you open the second one, this one is also working. So our functionality is working. The only thing is that we need to check whether these data are available on our database or not. So just go to the Neon console, and here, if we refresh, this is the old data, I think. So if we refresh, yes, we have now new data. As you can see, this code has also changed, if you notice, at the time of refresh. Although you can verify it once again by deleting it. So let's delete this one. And now if you go back, refresh, yeah, it has deleted. Delete this one also, and now go back again and refresh, and this one is also deleted. Perfect. So all the things are working. We have deployed it on the Vercel. We got the URL also from the Vercel, and also we have connected our database. It's working fine. We are able to delete the records. So entire our application is working fine, which we have created through Codex only. So that's all about this entire Codex series. I hope you enjoyed it, how it actually works. We get to know about many more things like skills, AGENTS.md file, Worktree, and a lot more. Try it out by yourself, see which one is working perfect for you. Although I want to show you one more thing, whether how you can use it in the IDE also, because we have not discussed it. Everything will remain same in IDE as well, just like we have discussed in the Codex CLI. Only the interface will get changed. So in whatever the interface you are comfortable, you can just go with them. I'll just give you the quick overview of the Codex ID extension. So if you can look at here, when you go to this section, here you can install a Codex ID. As you can see this one, when you click on this, install it, and when you install, you will get this option in the sidebar. Just click on this, and this is how you can able to use ID extension of Codex in your ID itself. Just give a file, whatever you want to give. Just open this. You can just attach a file, use a plugin, just like we have done in the Codex CLI and the Codex app. Everything will remain same. So based on your preference, you can use any one of the interface and go with that. So that's all about the Codex. Bye.